This the first of its kind, brother.
The first of its kind. No one's doing this online like this. Nobody. Not quite like this. The flyest ones to ever do it. All right. So for my audience on this platform, because this is the first time he's come on IamBrotherPolIGHT.com platform, what we need to do, we just want to have some opening arguments. And after that, Tommy and I are just going to drill each other, pause, with questions pertaining to this black woman. I'm open to his questions. He's open to my questions. So right now, I'll ask you, Brother Tommy, give me an opening argument about the black woman and why you are so hard on them. Just tell us, because I got my reason for why I'm showing them so much embrace, and I'm going to do that in like 3 minutes. Give us 3 minutes to let us know, 3 to 5 minutes. Let us know why you get down the way you get down when it comes to this black woman. That's what we need to know.
All right. Well, for those who don't know, I'm Tommy Sotomayor. I've been around these streets for a minute. Look, here's where you can find me. Number one, SotomayorTV.com. You can also follow me at TJ Sotomayor on Twitter. Just look up Tommy Sotomayor. All my stuff will come up, including my criminal record. But after that, there's a reason why I speak the way I speak. And I speak the way I speak because of this. I've watched black women for 41 years of my life. I know I look older than that, but I'm 41. And in my 41 years, no one held black women in a higher regard than me, probably when I was 19 to 20. I thought black women could do no wrong. The reason why I thought black women could do no wrong, well, was because I was being raised by one who told me she could do no wrong. There was nothing she could do wrong or any of the other women do wrong. As a matter of fact, my mom, the only person I'd ever seen in her life or in my life that ever checked her or put her in check, guess who that was? My grandmother. Other than that, my mother was always correct. Yet as I got older, I noticed that a lot of the decisions that she made in her life that affected me negatively as a child, she never stood up and said 2 words, which I noticed escaped the majority of black women. I'm sorry. Seeing that an individual who is a totalitarian, a dictator in their household, well, they never have to say they're sorry. As a young black man, I regretted and hated growing up to be one thing, man, because all I saw, in my opinion, or from what I had gathered from what my mom told me, was that men were liars. Men let women down. Men impregnate women and walk out. So why would I want to grow up to be that? And then all of a sudden I started realizing, after being able to think for myself, the first shackle I got off was the shackle of Christianity. That was something that my black mother and the black women of my family and community forced upon their black children. They didn't force college. They didn't force family. They didn't force parenting. They didn't force finances, but they did force religion. You could do anything in the world, but you couldn't disrespect white Jesus. Strange. So I shook that shackle. And after shaking that shackle, I started to question. I said, well, if I can question my God, my Savior, the person who controls my soul, then why can't I question the person who told me that that was my God, my Savior, and the person who controls my soul? So in the process of doing that, I then started questioning some of the things that my mother did, some of the decisions she made. And as I questioned them, I started realizing I'm amazingly attracted to black women. I have an affinity for black women. Most people only see me with black women, walking around with black women. Whether you hate me or love me, you see me knee deep in black women. So you'd have to ask, why do I give a crap? Well, that would be the answer. And why am I so hard? It's the same reason I'm hard on my daughter than I am the neighbor's kid. They don't know the neighbor's kid, and I don't care if the neighbor's kid grow up to be a junkie or flunky. But my daughter, even though the neighbor's kid isn't doing any chores, mine is. Even though the neighbor's kid doesn't get punished for bringing home B's and C's, mine does. Even though the neighbor's kid may get to stay up late, eat chocolate all day and night, mine doesn't. Because mine has rules, because I expect more from her, because I love her more than the neighbor's kid. So why am I so hard on black women? Because I don't see myself raising white children. My girls are black girls who will grow up to be black women. I noticed the faults in this one group, and yet everyone else was afraid to speak to black women. When I went to jail, I noticed that when I spoke to most of the guys in jail, they all had one central through line problem: black women. You go to the barbershop, you go anywhere, black men seem to lament, look it up, nigga, about black women. So in the process, I have no idea why it would be a problem for me to do the same thing when there's nothing new that I'm saying that no comedian, game show, talk show, comedy show, sketch show has said in the past. The difference is I don't have a laugh track behind me. I'm dead serious.
Okay. Let's get together. Black women. Oh, how I love you so. I cannot share the same sentiments as my brother, Tommy Sotomayor. Though, I can say this. I never knew my mother. She died the week I met her when I turned 17. I had mixed feelings when I met my mother because when I met her, she was suffering from cancer and diabetes. I oftentimes attempted to reconcile within myself, did I do the right thing by not chastising her when I first met her? And the reason being was because I said to myself, I have to be there for someone even though they wasn't there for me. So it was very difficult the 7 days that I had with my mother because I really couldn't determine when was the right time to talk to her. And I didn't know I had 7 days with her. That I didn't know. I never knew I had 7 days with her. I thought I had X amount of time, so I procrastinated when it came to revealing or giving her some of my reservations, letting her know what some of my reservations was. In time, when she died, I began to hate her. I never hated her my whole life. I began to hate her when she died. I felt like she left me again for the second time. I blamed her for her own death, only to find out through my father's mother, my grandmother, who I called moms because she raised me more than anyone else until she wound up with Alzheimer's, wound up in a nursing home, and then I wound up homeless and still going to school, taking myself there. Because my father left by that time at age 8. Prior to that, my father took care of my sister and I. Raised a bunch of other children called Michael, 6 in number. That's another story. That's what daddy did. Still love him the same. Yes, I have several brothers. So now what happens is I say to myself later on, my anger was partially in part misappropriated due to misinformation. Because after all, this woman did bring me into this world and she's due that much because I'm here. And every day that I appreciate my existence, by default, I have to appreciate the womb from which I derived. No matter the circumstances I was created, no matter the neighborhood I had to be raised in, if there's any time I should appreciate life, my mother is due that respect for bringing me here. Here's the irony though. Here it is, I thought my moms did all these wicked things until my mother, who had the tightest relationship amongst her children, all of her children, with my father. My father, according to his mother, who I have no reason to feel she was biased because she loved him so. I don't want to say she loved him the most, but it seemed like it to me. With a brother of his, her son, that had a very high ranking in law enforcement, who passed away last year. With a daughter of hers, which is his sister, my father, that is. My aunt, who also passed away because of cancer. She worked for dialysis. She worked in the dialysis field, Mount Sinai Hospital, I believe, in New York. But my father, he dropped out of school. He was playing ball. He was looking good. He dropped out to take care of me. It was said that I could never be born. After they had Michelle, I'm Michael. After they had Michelle, the doctor said, she can't have no more children. That's what they said. They said she cannot have any more children. That's what they said to my mother. Sure enough, she wound up conceiving. They then told her, you can die if you have this child. My father, according to my grandmother, who I identified as moms, said that my father was hell-bent on getting me aborted along with the rest of my mother's side of the family. However, my mother still chose to have me. And though my father can be violent at times and abuse my mom, as the narrative goes, in all defense to my pops, many people believe that he intimidated her into having me when it was absolutely contradictory, because according to my father's mother, my grandmother, who I identified as moms, she said he was just as persistent with having me aborted as the members of her family who were concerned about her health. But my mama would run away and she would have me and I would be born. She risked her life. She survived the birth and gave me to my father. I don't know who the hell to be mad at this particular point. I'm in a conundrum at this particular point because it has so many ups and downs, so many ebbs and flows. But what I did have to do over time is say this. This woman who never raised me saw me through to get here. During racist times still, there was still some oppression taking place in the community was going in because the Jews and blacks were having hell in New York. We wasn't too far from Eastern Parkway. Okay, for those of you that's in New York City, you understand the Jews run Eastern Parkway, that whole section down there. And our community in that particular area, when I was born, was still integrated and gentrification was just passing by so they can really take over Eastern Parkway. So they was in the neighborhood that my grandmother worked so hard as a black woman to own a house, which was very difficult task, as she worked for a company named NYNEX for damn near 40 years. I think they turned into AT&T later on, but there was a phone company called NYNEX at that time. And that's how my grandmother earned the right to get that house that she let all her children live in until they became successful and left her with the exception of my father. And so I would not be here, not just by the convention of birth that we accredit to both the father and the mother. I don't want no one to mistake me, but we're talking about women tonight. So forgive me if it sounds like I'm one-sided tonight because the focal point is on women. I do know it takes a man to participate in the birth of a woman. Let me say that because some of you will insist on suggesting that on my behalf. So let me let you know I'm full aware I participated in the birth of my child as well. And the conception. But for now, the focus is the black woman. And what I must say, this is a woman who I wind up hating after only having 7 days with her before she died. 7 days with her for as much as I can recollect. When she died, I conceived that she left me a second time and I hated her, only to find out that when it came time to risk her life to give birth to her next child, she ran away from the oppressive forces of both sides of the family who were committed to terminating her child, only to have me, despite the pressures and the stress incurred, not from just one family, but from two families. Still, she had me, and then turned me over to my father when the family of hers that wanted me terminated then said, let's keep him away from the father. She went against her own family, her own mother, and turned me over to my father after all the legal games and all the chaos had already commenced, and she went on to run away again. This much I know from both sides of the family. So I'm just giving you, because you talked about your mother, so I wanted to bring my mother here so we can let people see the dichotomy, so they can see how diametrically opposed we may be in views. So you struck a chord in me talking about your mother, and I wanted to strike a chord in you talking about mine. So we are probably very interesting to the world because our stories, as it relates to our mothers particularly, is so very unique.
Well, isn't it strange, though, if you think about it? Your mother left, you love black women. My mother stayed, I love black women. The way that we approach it is completely different. Mm-hmm. I do not believe you can spare the rod and raise a child that is correct. And as far as this goes, my view of women is less than mentally. I had a woman on the show today, a young woman, and she came on the show, beautiful young woman, was telling the world how much she loved me and how my videos have changed her life, but she's 20. And you know, you and I grew up and people always said, women mature faster than men. You remember hearing that?
I heard that.
Well, it's completely false, because if you talk to a 20-year-old female versus a 20-year-old male, you will realize how childish the 20-year-old female sounds versus the 20-year-old male. Why? Because the 20-year-old male has already been faced with a lifetime of obstacles to get over. He's been told he's not good enough to play football, not good enough to play basketball, not handsome enough to date, not popular enough to date. He's been told no, no, no. He's been told if he was raised in a correct family by his father, you must go cut the grass. You must take out the trash. You have chores. That female, however, realized probably before puberty, but especially after, according to how she filled out, that what she says matters less than what she looks like. So she's been able to get away from a young age with daddy by just being sweet and nice and laying up under daddy, and daddy don't want to punish his sweet little girl. How do I know? Because I have a little girl who gets away with a lot of stuff because all she does is look sad in the face. But my little boy look sad in the face. Boy, get that look off your face, boy. You a man. He can't even fall down without me saying, get up, be a man, dust it off. Little girl fall down, we all run over and pick her up. So by the time they turn 20, their views of life is completely different, because the little boy has become hard knock life. He Jay-Z now. He know things are difficult. He know he can't get a date in college without getting a couple of jobs so he can get some money to compete with the dope boy. But the woman don't even have to get a job at 20. All she got to do is look good, and she can date the dope boy or the boy with 2 jobs. She got a choice. So her mentality is not the same. And yet we're still told that lie that females believe or grow and mature quicker than boys. It's completely untrue. The reason I address that is because a lot of things we've been fed in the black community are just repeated, and they're repeated lies. They're things that are untrue, but we repeat them because of history, because of heritage, because of culture, because we're told. And the biggest propagators of lies are the females, because males are judged upon what they do, not what they say. So you can be a man and say that you got money, but if we don't see it, we won't believe it. But you can be a woman and paint another woman's face on your face. Get on Instagram, filter the hell out of yourself. And if anybody questions it, they're wrong. A woman can ask a man how old he is and say you too old or young to date. But a man asks a woman, how old are you? And they say, you don't ask a woman that. A woman can ask you, how big is your penis? And if you don't answer, she'll say, you must have a small one. A woman can ask you if you ever slept with a dude. And if you ain't answer, that means you must be a faggot. But if you ask a woman how much she weighs, she'll tell you that's a personal question. Last time I checked, I ain't never been able to Google a woman's weight and a picture of her show up. But if I give you my phone number, that's way more personal than my weight. If I give you my name, that's way more personal than my weight. What I'm telling you is that women are irrational and women are irresponsible.
Whoa.
And when you deal, oh yes, let me tell you why I say that. Let me tell you why women are irresponsible. Because the ghetto.
Can we call these generalizations, or you?
Yes, they are generalizations. Yes, sir. Okay. I'm raising two girls, but in general, women are irresponsible, and I just gave you reasons why. Because they have someone. Because someone will pick up for them. Meaning, a woman doesn't have to be strong. If she can't open a door, some idiot's gonna come open it for her.
What?
A woman does.
Well, why do you have to be idiot though?
I'm just saying, because what if that woman's strong enough and he go over there and pull and his back muscle out just to open that door for that woman? No,
what are you talking about?
Listen, hold on, wait.
Hold on. I'm texting to get the links out, but I'm thinking I'm missing something. I might have missed something. Just reverse a little bit about the idiot who might blow his back out.
No, she's wondering why I call him an idiot. I'm saying because he doesn't know this woman. It's like a young boy in Chicago. Some dude starts shooting. The young boy threw himself in front of the women, the girls. He was 15. They shot him and killed him. He's hailed a hero. Well, what if them girls grow up to be whores and he was going to be an engineer? The engineer's dead, but the whore's still alive. But we're praising him for doing this because they were females. No other reason. They had no redeeming qualities other than being female. That was enough to say this man should have given up his life. By that logic, we should be able to say white versus black. A black person should go save a white person just because that person's white. You say that doesn't make any sense. There has to be redeeming qualities to make this life worth saving other than it is a female. When we do that, we cannot say that people are equal when one is not judged on the merits, but only by its sexuality. You don't see that as a weird conundrum when we don't know what that woman's doing. But you're saying if you're a male there, you must save this female. That makes no sense.
Brother Tommy, I'm gonna have to stop promoting because you're gonna get away with saying some slippery stuff while I'm over here trying to send a text. There can be no texting while listening to Brother Tommy Sotomayor because any damn thing can happen in a few moments.
Well, when you're spitting the real, it's all real.
It's all real. Let me tell you how real is. Let's talk about the plight of the black woman. Let's talk about the fact that a man can have several baby mamas and be revered as a player. Let's talk about the fact that a young man can have a bunch of girlfriends and everyone will say, you know, all the girls love him.
I agree with that. I disagree with the first point. You know that's not true. That guy's called a deadbeat. That guy's never called a player if he got a bunch of kids. If he got a bunch of women, yes. The dude with a bunch of kids is not called a player.
Well, let me specify.
They've been trying to make fun of me in your chat room now. Ain't nobody said I'm a player because of it. They've been making fun of me because of it.
The onus is more on the woman as far as being responsible is concerned for having multiple baby fathers than it is for the man who has multiple baby mamas.
The woman with multiple baby fathers can still be considered a queen, a goddess, and a good mom. The man with multiple kids is always looked at as a bad dude. Always.
Only in a small community called the conscious community, my brother. The world in general will not say they're kings and queens. They will put them in the rankings of harlots, of whores.
They still are the ones that right now, the television does shows and everything about these mothers who have multiple kids and still make it through. That black woman who had 6 kids by the age of 34 by 3 different dudes. got them white people to give her $30,000 in a few days. The other black woman who slapped her son up in the Boston riot, they continue to uplift these single black mothers. You know this for a fact in the black community. She is not knocked down. It does not preclude her from getting dates. It does not preclude her from even getting good men. She still can get your best and brightest, even if she has kids by multiple people. And in most communities, that woman is looked down upon. She wouldn't have an opportunity to date anybody else. But in the black community, she actually does. You see it every day. Some dude that has a bunch of money marries some woman who already has kids from somewhere else. It doesn't happen in other communities.
By convention, my brother, and I'm exercising a great deal of constraint. By convention, and that don't mean nothing negative towards you. That is to hear everything you're saying so I could preference my statements properly. We have to understand this. No other community. I do not like those statements when I'm having conversations about the black community with black people. I don't mind if you was a different race, but you speak as though you don't understand that you yourself are experiencing life in the diaspora. When we say things like no other community, it intimates that there is something wrong with us on a certain level that exempts, or removes responsibility from the likes of whom have thrusted us into this conversation in the very first place. When we say things like no other community, well, we have to keep in mind, Tommy, that we've been stripped of a thorough knowledge of self. We've been stripped of our resources, our native tongue, and even the land that we used to live on. We've been stripped of the right to speak in our own language. We've been denied the right to even read in the foreign language that we had to adopt. They put a constraint on what exactly we could read. And then we have to factor in the hundreds of years that this constraint was upon us. And in 1865, December 6th, when they purportedly made us free, which Abraham Lincoln admits himself that he only did it because it was profitable for the nation, not because he gave a damn about the black people that were part of it. After Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of being considered 3/5 of a person, and then the argument going on to say, hey, you know what? You guys are winning votes because you got more slaves. Hey, we can get more votes if we could start counting these people as people. After we bartered for the right to be free, fighting in their war. Hundreds of years of this kind of chaos, this kind of degradation, dilapidation, destitution. And by that we mean, for y'all out there, extreme poverty. When we say things like, we are the only race, we say it as though we are totally oblivious to black people's plight, having suffered an acculturation process, living in their diaspora here in America, the hells of America. We talk like we're totally oblivious to the things that have transpired that has brought us to this very moment. That's one. We got to get that out the way. We are not just acting the way we're acting.
Can I stop you for a second?
Real quick.
No, I just got to say something for everybody that's out there.
Go ahead.
Clemson just won a national championship. Go ahead.
What? Okay.
Clemson just beat them on the last second.
So this is what I have to say. When we have to be careful when we say things like, we are the only race that is doing this, that, and the other, because no one after 400 years plus of oppression is going to come out and in 60, 70 years of freedom make a turnaround, especially considering the enemies of black people may have gone through their own forms of oppression amongst each other, but they still all remain enemies of a black people that make up only 14% of the population in America and only 9% of the population in Canada. And remotely closer percentages in UK, though they have many Africans of the continent who are over there. So this oppression cannot be rescinded overnight. And the reciprocal of this oppression may not necessarily take an equal 400 plus years, but 60 years certainly doesn't suffice to get some of the bad habits that have become transgenerational out of our system. So the promiscuity, their inability to organize, and the frustration from having a lack of resources doesn't merely is not beholden to black people exclusively, but this pain and this suffrage has to be shared amongst black people and the white perpetrators of the same. I didn't say black people should not be held accountable. Listen to me carefully out there, people. I'm saying that the blame has to be shared. It cannot be exclusive to us, nor can we own the majority of it. We are going to hold each other to a high standard when the conversation presents itself. If I was talking to you, Brother Tommy, I will hold you to a high standard and I respect you to be accountable for who and what you are as a black man, which is why we're having this conversation right now. However, to the average brother and sister there, lacking a certain knowledge of self, understanding that we've never been given the right to be left alone to our own vices, because whenever we set up a model community consistent with black residency, it gets bombed, it gets raided, it gets torn down. Eventually, you condition the people to be anti-revolutionary. Considering the vaccinations and the false diagnosis of ADHD that they give to all too many of our children, considering the fact that there are clinics in black communities. And then when you go into white communities, they don't know what a clinic is. Considering they are paying people to sell their wombs who are lacking in resources, so it actually is an option. Surrogate parenthood is actually an option to people that are lacking in resources and have to make ends meet. Our people are not merely making bad decisions because they choose to, my brother. They're making bad, or what appears to be bad decisions, because they're lacking the educational tools, the resources, and the system to be able to facilitate in ways where they can overcome such oppression of the mind and all the other forms of oppression that come in different tiers.
Well, let me ask you something, if I can. You said they're making bad decisions, and then you said what appears to be bad decisions. Are they bad decisions, or do they just appear that way?
I'll give you the answer. They appear to be bad decisions for the people that's not in the same position as the people making them. Most people, I would like to believe, who go to church, whether I agree with it or not, I would like to believe when people go to church, they go there with great intention. The institution may be corrupt, but the people going there may have been inspired to do the right thing and maybe get led astray. But those people in general have great intentions. Likewise.
You mean like
likewise, let me cap the point. Likewise, a black man putting another black man to the eye of a gun to steal from him. It appears to be a very bad decision to someone like myself who's living in Beverly Hills. But because I come from that space and I'm no stranger to those circumstances on both sides, I understand when you're lacking in education, no matter how much morality exists within your bones or in your blood, you now have to revert back to a more primitive state of mind in order to survive. And when people construct environments saturated in decadence, you're likely to find a higher probability of people making those kind of decisions that appear to be very bad decisions to people that are in a better position themselves. But to the people who have to live in that experience every single day, they are making the best decision most occasions that they can conceive of doing. Do I support the action? Of course not. But when sisters decide that they have to prostitute to get some kind of compensation to sustain their livelihood, but the information to do better isn't properly disseminated in the community, nor are there any supporting cast or groups that they can access in real time, chances are she will do what she feel it suffice to do to survive. Is this an excuse for them doing that which we perceive to be wrong? No, it's not an excuse. We encourage people to do better and think better. But when you are strapped for cash and you have absolutely nothing, you will revert back to a primitive instinct more times than less. The average human being, this is not something exclusive to Black people. This is something that belongs to humanity. Anytime a large group of people are lacking in resources and educational tools, the decision-making will contrast immensely to those who are living better than those that they are judging. It is a fact. Hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, but I want to say something to you. As respectful as I can be, I'm listening, but a lot of the times when I will bring up a point, you will talk a long time and drown out the point or the question that is being asked. So unless I either write it down or have a scorekeeper or a person who says the point that was being asked, because you have dominated this, you've dominated the time of possession in this game.
You need to watch the replay.
Aerial attack. I got to throw a bomb because you're dominating the ball on the ground. So
you can watch the replay of how many times I got cut off. I said I will hold constraint for myself, and I mentioned no disrespect. I said I'll just assess everything you said. So you got back, you just do. Go ahead.
So here it is. I understand that you say there's a reason for a lot of things that are happening, and I never say that there's not a reason. I understand. But see, I view myself as the ER doctor. And when the ER doctor comes in, when somebody busts through the door, doctor, we got a gunshot victim. We got a gunshot victim, and the gunshot victim is bleeding. Where's bleeding from? Right here. We cannot stop the bleeding. So what we do is the first thing we must do is stop the bleeding, or the patient dies. Now, we cannot assess what made them go into gang banging or what made them get in the position that they got shot. They could have got shot because they slapped their wife. They could have got shot because they got caught cheating. They could have got shot because they were trying to go anything. All I know is I got to stop them from bleeding. So I leave that to you. After I've stopped them from bleeding, when they go in there and they get on through recovery, I'll leave that to you to tell them to stay off the cocaine so they don't have to go try to rob it and get shot. I'll leave that to you to tell them to make sure that they have the safety on the gun next time when they get ready to put it in their holster and they don't shoot themselves. I'll leave that to you once I've saved the patient. So I'll leave that to all of you people who want to go back to Kemet, who want to go back to the 20s, who want to go back to the 30s, who want to go back to all these times, because I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just dealing from the ER.
I love the analogy. It sounds like it makes sense. Just like it appears people are doing the wrong thing. It's all perspective. It's all perspective. And that you are entitled to. What we have to be careful of, my brother, when we say things like black women are irresponsible. Fine. If we're going to make that generalization, we have to now ask, were we cultured into a state of irresponsibility as a race, more especially in the case of the black woman?
That's the difference between our approaches. Remember, if we're going to say that this is a state, which is you've been shot, you're irresponsible, I have to get you to notice you've been irresponsible, that you've been shot. Because if you keep walking around and not noticing that you've been shot, you're just going to bleed out. The black community has too many people bleeding out because they have no idea they've even been injured. So I have to get the alcoholic to recognize that alcoholism is a problem before they'll even know why they drink. So I feel you. And I think the difference is people are not understanding. I understand where you're coming from. You just don't understand that I'm telling you, I cannot get this patient to enter an AA meeting if they don't think drinking is wrong. I got to get them to acknowledge there's a problem.
My brother, the average person, and I have to speak from personal experience, and maybe you people in the chat can also concur. The average person smoking cigarettes will call it a cancer stick. The average person who drinks will say, you know, I know I got to lighten up on drinking, or I know it's not good. So I don't think the question is if it's bad and whether they realize it, that it's not good for them. The thing is that they're trying to compensate, and in some instances overcompensate, for anxieties that correspond with the affliction. You see,
but acceptance allows people to continue doing this, meaning
no, addiction, not acceptance, addiction.
No, I agree. What I'm saying is when you have a community that says it's okay, it's harder for that person to get help. That's why they can openly say, yeah, I know I got a problem drinking lean, but drinking lean is also cool.
What community is suggesting this?
Our community, the quote unquote black community right now will give a brother more credit for going to jail for 4 years than going to college for 4 years. I've seen more parties thrown for a Negro getting out of jail than a Negro getting out of college. These are facts. I've seen way too many black women getting thrown baby showers when they don't even know who the baby's father is. If you're giving them good things for bad behaviors, there's no reason for them to stop. I know black women who've called in my show that say they get ridiculed because they hit 30 and don't have children. Not having children, not ridiculed for not having a husband. Nobody's ridiculed in the black community for not having a husband. This is a fact. If you make right now, why do you think they go out of their way to call me gay? Because it's a ridicule. Why do you think they go out of their way to call me crispy? Because it's a ridicule. And in response to that, why do you think so many black people, dark-skinned people, are getting light skin lightening cream? If you ridicule enough people in a community, they will try not to be that thing. We all know this.
I have a question. This community?
Uh-oh, you froze.
Hold on.
There you go.
I have a question. Are you a part of the conscious community?
I don't even like that word. If we talking, I'm assuming we're conscious.
Are you a part of the conscious community?
Nope.
Are you a part of the pro-black community?
Nope.
So I'm just interested in this thing that you're part of the thing you're calling our community. When I said, what community is condoning?
I said the black
one. Hold on. I said, what community is condoning the drinking of lean? You said our community.
I said the black one.
I got you. Now you're not part of the pro-black community, and you're not part of the conscious community, but you're part of the our community.
I stopped saying that. I just told you what black. I said black. You can't keep doing it. If you said some numbers, 14.
Let me get it straight. You're not part of the pro-black community, but you're part of the black community.
Right.
Okay. I think we all see where that goes wrong. But I don't mind.
You can be on Alabama's campus and not be for Alabama. I live in Phoenix, and I'm not for the Phoenix team.
I don't mind. Let me just finish my point. Apparently, you are part of the community that suggests that it's okay to drink lean, a combination of drugs infused with alcohol. I'm here to tell you, just as you are not part of the conscious community and pro-black community, I am not part of the black community that
condones that.
Those things.
Right. That's what. But what I'm saying though. But are you trying to deny that there's not a segment of our population who thinks this is okay to the point of where we started to put it in songs? Come on, dog. Let's not play with that. They ain't made no songs where the rappers is coming out talking about sucking no other rapper's dick. Once that starts to become a song, then you'll know that's norm.
You're missing the point, and I understand why. Because you're slipping up. I'm not one of those other guys you be debating, Tommy. This is a different scenario. You in the fucking cage right now. So
you already lost.
You gotta be careful.
You're trying to pick up the pieces. You already got knocked down, Ronda Rousey. You just trying to pick up the pieces. I already stunned you.
Yeah, I won't debate to you about debating. I will just conduct the debate I'm already having and winning. So this is what I'm going to do. Let me just make sure I got all this straight. When asked about the community that is in conformity with doing debaucherous acts, such as consuming large volumes of drugs, liquid drugs, that is.
Yeah.
You referenced them as our community. So I went on to say, what group of people are you talking about? You said, our community. I said, our community. So then I asked.
You keep on skipping when I said the black. I'm not going to let you keep doing that. When I said that, I said black people.
No
the
problem.
Black community. That is what I said. You keep skipping that purposely.
I was going to get to that point.
You can't skip it. Say it when you said this is how it went.
I'm going to get to that point, Tommy, but I need you to allow me to just speak my piece. And if I'm wrong about something, I don't mind you correcting me.
You can't keep purposely skipping a point, though.
I'm not skipping a point. You want to allow me to
then next time you repeat it, say what I said. Don't leave that out.
That's not the order in which it happened.
It actually is the order. Don't make me replay. I can replay this thing. Do you not make me replay it?
Brother, don't worry about it. Just allow me to say, during the course of you talking, sometimes I'm going to disagree with you, but I realize how incumbent it is just to let you talk. And then
but we have an audience of people who know I did say this. If you take it out, there must be a reason you're removing it.
It referenced black community at some point or the other, and I don't want to argue about that.
You want to stop me from arguing? Make sure you say it, and I won't argue.
No, I want you to continue arguing because you're misrepresenting yourself as a good debater.
You can't keep taking out what I said and then say I'm misrepresenting. If you were doing a real debate, they would not allow you to repeat me without repeating me correctly.
No problem. But Brother Tommy, in real debates, whatever that is to you, there's going to be times where people say things you disagree with, and you just inevitably have to allow them to complete their thought and allow.
It's not a disagreement. The moderator would correct them and say that is not what was said. That's what a moderator does. They don't allow you to.
I've never seen that.
It does. You can look at the debates. You can look at the debates. When Hillary Clinton said that Donald Trump said something, the moderator said, no, this is exactly what he said.
I don't mind. I know this is all wrong. So I'm going to continue saying what I was saying because I don't want to debate about debating. I want to debate about the issue at hand. And I see it's making you uncomfortable because you realize something.
No, because you're taking out my words. I don't like when people build on a falsity. If one of your wives said to you, you was out last night till 4 o'clock and you know you was out till 2, she can't keep talking if you say, no, I came home at 2.
In my world, she can until it's my time to talk. That's just how it works in my world.
So you will let her purposefully mischaracterize what happened.
It's not necessarily on purpose. It may serve a purpose to allow her to say everything. And then, especially if I have an audience, I would be even more secured with her making a mistake because it's in front of an audience that can bear witness to the conversation in real time. I'd be even more secure in letting her make an error. So allow me to make my error in front of over 1,000 people.
Go ahead. Keep making your error on purpose. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll more than love to correct you because you're the one with the error. So here we go. We're talking about black people who suggest that we indulge in debaucherous and very detrimental acts against ourselves, one of which is drinking lean, liquid drugs that obviously has no medical promise of doing good by the people who consume it. So I said, what group of people doing that support this kind of action? Who's supporting that kind of action? You said, our people. And I'll do this for you. I said, who? You said, black people. Let me do that for you. Black people. It's not going to make much of a difference. Black people. Black people is going to come later on, but I'll say it now just so you can just let me go forward. Black people. So I said, black people? Yeah, our people. So our people are allowing and suggesting that we do this to each other. You said yes. So I said, okay. You're going to say our community. So our community is doing this. So I say, okay, our community is doing this. Oh, the black people, our community. Okay, so now I have our people, black community, our community, black community. I got it. So I hear the word community and I'm like, okay, this is interesting because now when it's time for the negativity, it's ours, it's our people, it's the black community, it's black people. But then if it's about the conscious community who's not drinking lean, you don't own them. When it's about the pro-black Pan-African community, you don't own them, but you own the lean drinkers. And you say it's our community, it's the black community. So I see when some negative shit is going on, you want to own it and you want all of us to possess it. But when it's the conscious community, no, I'm not part of that community. When it's the pro-black community, no, I'm not part of that. Like, I didn't say pro-black community. I said black community. So, and what black community are you talking about? The one that's drinking lean. So I'm telling you, brother, I am not part of that community. And I wouldn't put that on the black community per se and say the black communities are. What I would say is there's a community of people that encourage that behavior, and they exist in various communities, but the one that should be of interest to us most likely should be the one that corresponds with our ethnicity. And that is a group of people, because a community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. Now, there is a group of black people who don't have those characteristics in common, which puts them in a community by themselves, separate and different from those people. So what we see again, Mr. Tommy, is that you have a tendency when it's negative to try to make all of us own it. But the truth be told, black people are not like that. They're not like that by nature. And they get like that oftentimes by circumstance, like any other race of people who have to endure the same traumatic experiences. But to say the black community, there are other black communities that exist that do not encourage that kind of behavior. So we have to be very clear when we make our statements, because these are very degrading, degenerative statements that we are making. And if we don't preference our statements correctly, you have innocent people that are listening, looking to find some kind of confidence in great people. And if they hear great people suggesting to us that the whole damn black community is down with this kind of incongruous behavior, it sets us off the straight. So you are held accountable because I know you're an intelligent man. Somebody else, I would say they're entitled to that kind of error. But you, when you do it, I know that you may be doing it on purpose, probably for educational purposes or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we got to own the good black people do, and then say, sometimes some black people may be in a place beyond repair, though we shouldn't quit on our people, but we have to have that limitation where we say, we're indulging too much in those people. There's some people here that want to be uplifted that we can work with. But when we own that group of people or integrate them with us, because we know that a community is a group of people living in a particular space with each other that are in conformity with the same type of actions. They have the same character traits. And I'm saying I don't have the character traits that you was discussing. And I believe you don't have the character traits that you was just discussing, which may put you and I in a community if we lived around each other and we was thinking in a similar fashion. So my thing is, you're taking the worst of our community and you're making generalizations that speak to a larger amount than is actually true. There are too many of us that are doing the wrong thing. I could agree to that. But I also have to take into consideration how we arrived at this particular point or juncture. And that's why I always say to my audience, understanding transcends disagreement. I may disagree, but that means nothing if I don't understand. So even when my people, by complexion, do the wrong thing, my understanding of what impels them to do wrong is worth more than my condemnation of the actions that they perpetrate against each other. I hope I'm understood.
My point was to the larger segment of the group. The larger segment of Jews become doctors and lawyers. That's why we have jokes about Jews being doctors and lawyers. The larger segment of basketball are black people. That's why they make jokes about the NBA being black. I was only preaching to the larger segment of black people because apparently homosexuality is not okay in the black community and black people talk crap about it. Not believing in Jesus is not okay in the black community. You can get a woman to walk away from a date table by saying you don't believe in Jesus. But it's hard to get some black people to disown you because you say you do. It's hard to get some black people to get mad at you because you say you do like big asses. So the point is, I'm speaking to the larger narrative. You would not be able to rap about these certain things, and these things wouldn't go platinum, and these shows wouldn't be sold out if these thought processes were not shared amongst the larger group. So I'm speaking towards that larger group, that these things are hurting in large numbers, like fatherlessness. Well, you grew up with a father, so should you not talk about fatherlessness as it is a problem because you grew up with him, because you had one? Or does that help embolden you as much as the person who didn't have one? Because you know the difference between you and the guy who didn't have one. You see how a lot of your friends who didn't have one might have acted, or whatever the case may be. Just because one is in the smaller segment doesn't mean one doesn't realize that it's larger, or that it's smaller than the larger one. There are white people who walk around every day who realize that white supremacy exists. Should they not realize it because they benefit from it? We are a smaller segment, and we know that white supremacy is bigger than our segment. As you stated, 14, the census says 13 or 12.5. But it's a small number. That being said, why would we not be able to call out what the truth is? The truth of the matter is there is an issue, and the issue cannot be addressed by semantics, by saying, well, what exactly do you mean by black people and black community? I'm black and I don't do it. He's black and he don't do it. And I'm assuming you don't. Yes, I'm saying there are a lot of people who don't. My problem is that it's accepted even amongst people who don't, like slavery. Only 8% of whites owned slaves. The problem wasn't the 8% that owned the slaves. The problem was the larger majority accepted it. So nothing would change. So even though they didn't partake in it, they accepted it. So there would be no change. It's the same with us. There are a lot of people who hang out with drug dealer friends, but still won't call them out on it because it's accepted. There are a lot of people who are afraid to go to the clubs with their girlfriends because their girlfriend go wild out, and they will say things like, that's the type of person she is. You know how she get. So it's the acceptance by the other people around it. It's not even the people doing bad stuff. It's the people around it that allow it. Let me give you a last example before you go, or before it's your time. You can look at your chat room, a pro-black brother, a man for the people, and look at my chat room, a coon, a sellout. But guess what? My chat room ain't calling you, fellow melanated brother. Crispy, black as hell, faggot, gay, none of this. So why are they able to speak to you in a civilized manner? But you who loves your people and have people who are with you who love their people can't even talk without putting my mother's name and address in your chat room. What, should my mother be killed because they don't like how I talk? Is that where we going with this? Is this what pro-blackness brings? What's written? What's right there on the side? Because last I checked, if somebody was so much better than me verbally and factually, they wouldn't need to write all that stuff that they're writing. They just sit back and watch the slaughter.
Let me go over your points in reverse. Like I said, it sounds good, but you're dealing with a different phenomenon, my brother. This is not ego talking. This is absolute logic. I can understand why so many people ships sink when they talk to you. You're very good at what you do. You're very intelligent. You're very articulate. I like how you have the tones going up and down. You exegete very well, my brother. Unfortunately, you are in the lion's den. So there's no way we could distinguish truly amongst everybody that is in our chat rooms. For all I know, some of your faithful following
would come over and put my mother's name and address in there? Yeah.
Oh, some of your faithful following are trolls. So for all I know, some of your faithful following, before they had the opportunity to troll you on your platform, they may have realized you was here on my platform and didn't realize the good job that we did merging the two. Had they known this, they would have probably been trolling you on your platform. So there's a variation of reasons why some people may be in my section talking negative, but this is beyond the chat room. And I don't want us to deflect and start looking at the chat room.
No, we need to get back to the point, which was black women. And that's when you say address it in reverse, that was the last 20 seconds of everything I said.
No problem.
It was 20 seconds. And I used that in wrapping up everything I said prior.
No problem. So I see it as a form of deflecting to get me away from what it is that I have to address. So the chat room, it's not a problem. You have a different opinion.
You sound like Tariq now. Tariq talking about some Vlad made him come there and do that. Vlad set him up. You can't say I deflected when all you had to do was ignore it.
I don't mind, brother. The point of the matter is, I don't want us to spend more time talking about who's saying what in the chat room than the subject matter at hand. So I believe it was a great attempt, and I'm acknowledging you for it, because when a person's debating, they have to do what they can to see if they can veer the person they're debating off course. But I'm just letting you know, I'm full aware of the deflecting. There goes someone wrote it there, Nubian Queen. She's one of us. She wrote the keyword deflecting.
Of course they're going to say you're doing it. You keep repeating it.
Deflecting. And so don't worry. The chat room is the least of our worries, family. I'm on it. We're not going to let them get away with that. So now, you said, how could they sell so much music? How could they sell so many shows? These shows are sold out. Obviously, now I got to paraphrase. It's the black community supporting this narrative. Well, I would tell you this. The average rapper would tell you when they fill up these shows, their biggest patrons are people of other races. Because other races are just as much part of hip hop as far as the patronizing is concerned, than there are the small 14% of us that are in America, and the percentage of that 14% that contributes to that chaotic narrative. Because a lot of black people will buy your damn bootlegs or see if they can download the music for free, let alone fill up whole stadiums to hear that rhetoric. Now, I'm not saying a lot of black people don't support this debaucherous music. I'm simply saying, when you ask, who's filling up these shows? The reality is there's a lot of white folks and Asians filling up those shows. It's very true. I'll move on because that's to the smaller points. I wanted to go in reverse because your points were dying out as you got to the latter stages of your conversation. So I want to get to your stronger points, so I'm going in reverse. So now, here's my thing. You said you were speaking to the larger segment of our people when you spoke of the social ills perpetrated by the same. You said you're speaking to the larger segment of our people, your exact words. That's why you have to talk about the lean. That's why you have, and here we go, owning the negativity. So then you go on to say, when people say Jews, when the Jews refer to themselves, when people talk about Jews, who do they talk about? They say the Jews are lawyers. I said, very interesting that Tommy should say that the Jews are lawyers, and people do say Jews are lawyers, or they may even say Jews are accountants, or maybe even landlords. But you know what they're talking about? The progressive Jews amongst the community. And a community is a group of people in a specific environment that are in conformity to the same edicts and have similar attributes. So if we're talking about a community and you say you're speaking to the largest segment, I then ask you again, the largest segment of who? Only the ones doing the wickedness in our community. But if we go to the Jews, you want to pick out the lawyers in their community. So I want to tell you this. Do you know that Jews lead America in oral circumcisions? This is a fact. So why aren't we calling Jews cocksuckers? Because they are leading the whole fucking country in sucking baby penises. Because it's part of their religion. But will you call them cocksuckers and speak to the largest segment of the people in America that's sucking on baby penises? Of course not. Because
Let
you
me ask
want
you something. Is that
I'm not done. I'm not done. You want to hand select.
Is that a problem in their community though?
Yes, it is a goddamn problem. Now,
Are they complaining about it?
listen, let me show you something.
Is it something that's hindering their people? That's all I ask.
Is it wrong or is it perceived as wrong, Tommy?
Is it hindering? That was a simple question. Is it hindering their people?
Yo, listen, I don't mind.
Because all I talk about is things that are hindering blacks. I don't just say something that's just something to be saying it.
Hey, yo, Tommy, I'm only bringing up the points that you put out that was.
I didn't say nothing about them giving no head to nobody.
Of course you didn't. I'm only bringing up the points that you were allowed to bring up uninterrupted by me. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. But every time I talk, your ass is on that hot seat.
Every time you speak, I don't come at your points that way. You come at mine, misrepresent them, and bring up something that has nothing to do with what I just said. And you think that's okay. What you're doing is unfair. When you speak, I let you speak, and then I speak back. Everything that you heard me say, what did I say about what you said? Nothing. You're literally coming right back and saying, well, you don't talk about, nobody talks about them as cocksuckers. And I'm saying, it's okay. If them sucking cocks was hurting their community, I guarantee you they'd say something. Somebody would.
Now, hold on, brother. Let me go here. You got to let me finish. Again, every point I'm bringing up is all the points you were able to bring up uninterrupted. I just want to make that clear. So I'm going to attempt to rebut the things you said uninterrupted. But I don't mind if you got to cut me off, because I understand if I was talking to me, I may be impelled to cut me off. Secondly, what I do also understand is that you are in the lion's den. And you're not talking to the other guys. So I'm going to do this again. You say you're speaking to the largest segment, meaning you're speaking to the large group or speaking about the large group of black people that are doing the wrong things. You said, I'm speaking to the largest segment. That is to say, you're speaking about the large group of blacks doing the wrong thing within the confines of their community. But again, my brother, we have to make sure we understand what a community is. A community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. So they don't necessarily have to live in the same place. A community could be a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. So the black community that you chose to use in your example was the people who had using drugs in common. And from the group of black people that have drugs in common, you then selected the things that's wrong with them. What I'm saying is, when we talk about the Jews, you reference them as lawyers. Like, you know, Jews are known as lawyers when you talk about them. And I'm like, okay, do you know that Orientals were identified as having Hansen's disease, right?
Asians?
That's what they call it today. But do you know, prior to it being Hansen's disease, which is a euphemism for Mongoloidism, do you know we used to call Asians Mongoloids? Not we as in black people, humanity called them Mongoloids, particularly in America. And they said they didn't want to go around being identified as the people that bear the gene that causes Down syndrome. So now they're called Asians instead of being called Mongoloids, since the disease was named Mongoloidism, because then we'd have been saying, don't make babies with Asians because they bear the Down syndrome trait. So now guess what? Did we say Orientals or Asians? Did we say Asians are the Down syndrome bearers? Did we take the worst out of the Asian community and identify them as such? Does the Asian community take the worst out of their community and says, this is what we do, the worst of us? Remember, again, people, I want y'all to listen. A community can be a group of people that live in a particular place, or it can be a group of people that have a particular characteristic. The Asians don't want to be known or own the characteristic that gives them Down syndrome. Therefore, they don't want to be identified as Mongoloids. Jews don't want to be known as cocksuckers. So, hey, yeah, we're known for being lawyers and accountants. But here we got my brother Tommy Sotomayor. He picks the community amongst black people, because there's several communities, because a community is a group of people that live in a specific place together, or a group of people that have a particular characteristic. Now, I think it's very interesting, as I'm about to rest my case, that amongst several different communities you could have picked amongst black people, you chose to identify and pick the worst amongst a group of black people that are failing. But if you had to pick amongst black people that were succeeding, what would you grab out that bag? No one has a clue, because when you speak, you make it sound like, yo, the black community. No, brother, you're using it out of context. There's a group of people that live in a specific place together, or there's a group of people that have a particular characteristic in common. There are successful black people. That makes them the successful black community. And what do they all succeed in? Let's pick a name that we could associate with them and then say, that's black people for you. No, we want to own the degenerates. We want to own the failures. We want to own the drug dealers, but we don't want to own the elite. We don't want to own the successful. But the Jews have cocksucking galore going on in their community amongst the babies. And the Asians are known for having Mongoloidism, Down syndrome, and they refuse to be identified as the worst amongst their kind. But us, we take pride in identifying ourselves as the worst amongst our kind, making you just as bad as the very people you say patronize black people of their race for their negative music. You're doing the same thing in your deliberations. Only thing, you're not rapping. You're just conducting dialogue online. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I see bombs in the chat.
You ended.
And your comments stopped moving because it was the mannequin challenge for your comments. They understand still.
Apparently, I'm not looking at the same screen. My comments are moving.
Maybe your shit froze.
No, apparently I'm not looking at the same thing, because my comments haven't stopped moving, number one. And number two, I put my comments on a 10-second delay. So after they make a comment, they can't speak again for 10 seconds. So they can't put like how people can type the same thing over and over and over again and fill up your screen. They can't do that on mine. So that might be a difference.
Oh, so it might be
number
slow.
one.
It might be slow then.
Yeah. No, number one, but number two, you ended it by saying us and we, speaking for the larger collective, while telling me apparently I wasn't supposed to at the end. And you also spoke again at the beginning of your Asian rant and said we, when I've never referred to an Asian as an Oriental or a Mongoloid, but you were able to say we, and I didn't stop you or address it because I understood the point of what you were making. But let's move on to the bigger point, which is you said I speak on a negative side and I only bring up the negatives. That's because I thought we were supposed to be talking about one side says the Cowboys is the best team in the football and the other side says no, they're not. So if you talk to the side that says the Cowboys are the best team in football, they're going to tell you why. If you talk to the other guy, he's going to tell you why not. I don't need a long dialogue, or I don't need to insult you. I just say what was said. I'll move on.
I'm waiting for you.
That was it.
Okay, great. I didn't expect you to have much to say. So this worked out great for both of us. So
if sarcasm helps you win a debate, you won.
Man, I mean, brother, you speak more when you're cutting me off than when you got the actual mic to speak on your own behalf. So that tells me everything I need to know about this debate. So we'll move on like you said. This is what we'll do. So we'll move on like you said. You speak more when you cut me off. You speak less when you have the floor to yourself. It tells me everything I need to know. It's going exactly as I planned. It's everything I expected and even more. So let's talk to you about, let's get back on this black woman. We kind of was talking about the black community, but this still, by all means, I want people to understand this still deals with the black woman. This is just so many layers of dealing with the black woman that we had to actually divulge into these different conversations. I know, family, I am taking it easy on him. Don't worry about it. Because I actually like Tommy. I know y'all don't like Tommy, but I actually am very fond of Tommy. And with some work, we're going to have him on our side. I know y'all ain't going to want him, but he coming over to the dark side. Or as some say, crispy side. You know what I'm saying? He's coming over to the dark side. You feel me? Dark is a very beautiful thing in my world. But anyway, the black woman. Let's get to the core issue here. Because you said they're irresponsible. That's what I want to go to. You said the black woman is irresponsible and a host of other things that I would like you to add on to. What I was going into earlier was the fact that as men, we also have to consider, because we're talking about black women now, as men, we also have to consider the amount of trauma that a lot of these sisters go through, because they are more likely to be molested. And this is not that I'm not concerned with the young black men that get molested. It's only because this particular scenario, this particular forum has been consecrated to speaking about the black woman, which we see we still wind up having to speak about the black community. And we still wind up having to speak about black men, because that's how important the black woman is. So all of this is necessary. I hope you guys are enjoying both sides of our conversation. The black woman has been molested an innumerable amount of times. The black woman is subject to extreme forms of domestic violence. I'm not saying that black men don't. I hate the fact I have to say this, but I just say it anyway, because you got those people that exist and are very insecure. So I got to damn near debate myself and debate the brother here on the platform. The black woman being the subject of much molestation, more than her male counterpart. Extreme physical abuse, much more than her male counterpart. The black woman who has to experience something totally different than what the male experiences when a child is en route to coming into this world. That is the emotions that correspond with her conceiving, whilst at the same time not knowing if the black man is going to be there for her or not. Of course, there are extreme forms where she just slept with people she wasn't supposed to sleep with, for what it's worth or whatever it means. Of course, we are not talking about those extreme forms. We're talking about the conventional messed up equations. where the black man and the black woman shouldn't be making babies, both of them. But she has to deal with the hormonal change, the hormonal imbalances that are precipitated in light of her probably looking for a place to live, a man not being able to afford the situation, the man having the luxury of saying, I'm not dealing with you no more. And sure, she may even be able to put him on child support, but nothing's better than actual human support. The stress that is incurred, the stress incurred from her being a single mother. Of course, we would like to speak to how she became single. Why not? Of course, we may want to speak to how she even wound up pregnant, as some would say. Why not? But it still doesn't change the fact she has to go through an extreme experience when it comes to emotions. You may say, why does that matter? I'm going to tell you why it matters. Because she's going through it, and she's going to give birth to your children. That's why it matters. So we got to figure out a better strategy, because it's not us that has to carry the child everywhere we go. Go through labor with or without the father. Have a home with or without the father. And still be expected to be a mother. That's a task that we have to just consider a little more. I lighten up. I'd like to hear what you got to say. I want you to tear it down so that I can give you what you need, my brother.
Two inaccuracies. There are more black male children physically abused and more black male children killed than females. These are facts. More black male children are physically abused to the point of where they have to be removed from the home than black female children. More black male children are murdered by their parents than black female children. Nobody stands up for them. And then when people put out misinformation like you just did, then no one cares for them. That's why I speak.
Okay, you called women being molested more than men misinformation?
No. I just told you the part that you said that was misinformation. I literally spelled out the two things that were misinformation. You added something else to change the subject. You do this a lot. I said specifically where there's no chance that you could have messed that up. I said physically removed because of abuse and murdered. Didn't say that thing that you brought up, but it's okay.
I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
That's okay.
I would like you to repeat what you're talking about. I don't have a clue what you're talking about as relates to black women and me giving misinformation. I'm willing to sit here and listen to you say it again. And I'll reference where's your statistics coming from? Who is the source of your statistics? What year and who gathered the information?
Well, first off, neither of us have brought statistics. This was the last minute thing. So we have.
Oh, it looked like you was reading something. That's why.
No, I'm writing down what you're saying because I'm not trying to cut you off.
No problem.
To address what you're saying, but.
So there's no source to what you were saying?
Well, I can't give you one, but I can give you one a little bit later.
That's not a problem. I'll continue to move forward then. I'm not concerned with nothing you just said. Then. As far as
by that logic, then you can't back up what you said. Then if we're going to disrespect each other that way, then make sure you give me the source of what you just said.
Oh, no problem. The thing is this.
Not the thing is the source. Which you did. You just dismissed my point when neither of us have brought up sources to this point.
Oh no!
You just dismissed me right then and told me, well, then we're not going to factor in anything you said.
You
so
cut me off.
Now do the same.
You cut me off. I was going to continue to say. Then I won't consider where I gave misinformation on because it has no bearing. That statement that I gave misinformation has no bearing because you have no point of reference other than
the same point of reference you use.
Now, okay, let me explain this again so you could definitely understand what I'm saying. At no point in this conversation did I tell you that you gave misinformation. I just battle the points. I battle. I refute. I debate. We use as much as logic as we can employ for this conversation. That's what we've been doing. The second you come out to say you've been given misinformation and then you specify, I don't know how you missed it, but on 2 occasions I gave misinformation. then all I can surmise is this man must have some kind of statistics, and he must have a point of reference. I'm willing to hear how I gave misinformation, because when someone tells me I just misinformed people specifically on 2 occasions, I will only surmise that he has some point of reference, because I've yet to tell you you've given people misinformation. I've just merely accepted the fact that you're entitled to your opinion, and you can substantiate it to the best of your ability through using logic and things that we can personally connect with. It's only when I'm told I'm giving misinformation about 2 things in particular that I would conceptualize that you must have some kind of references. So when you tell me you don't have none immediately here to qualify the statements that you made, then I said to you, not meaning disrespect, that, oh, I will just not consider it no more, because I was interested in hearing statistics. So now when I say I'm not considering it, it doesn't mean I'm throwing everything you said since the time of this interview away. No, I don't want us to go into that emotion. It merely means that I'm not going to take it the way I initially took it when you told me I'm misinforming people, because you had nothing to qualify the statement. So I will omit that point, and I won't even ask about it again, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still subject to your opinion until given otherwise. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I will not omit the whole conversation. This conversation is very valuable to the whole community, especially when it comes to learning Robert's Rules of Conduct or learning how to debate. I'm with it, brother. That's all I meant. I'm not going to omit everything you said. Everything you're saying is very valuable to the conversation. I'm sorry I came off that way. Okay. So now we'll go forward. This guy here, who's he talking to? So we'll go forward, and this is what we'll do. Our people, Black women, what you can look up, this is what we can do. When a woman is born, she's born with all the ovate cells she'll ever have. This means that women are born potentially with all the children they will ever have. Kind of like reptilian in nature. They have a bunch of eggs. Only thing is, it's almost like something got maimed and they're releasing eggs at a time during their menstrual cycle, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But it stands to reason for me that not only should we consider the emotions that diffuse into the child when a woman is conceiving that child, we should also consider that she's born with all the potential entities that will become the child one day. Which means, here we go, we're going to use this term, epigenetics. Epigenetics stipulates that the children are summation of the women's experiences. How about that one?
Found it.
No problem.
58% of all murder victims were 58.8, 49.2 were females. In the Black race, it was 61% were males.
And that's in terms of what?
Murdered children. The children that are murdered.
This
is on murdered children in a household. This is on, I'll put the link in the description box. Family violence statistics, U.S. Justice Department.
Who's murdering the children? Black people in general or Black
families? Women? Family violence, families.
Oh, okay.
The families who are being murdered. The males are being murdered more than females are being murdered.
Oh, the black children.
Black male children are being murdered more than Black female children. Black male children, when they bring them in or take them out of the household for violence, it's more likely a Black male child that gets physically abused by the mother than the Black female.
Oh, so I think we're having a misunderstanding, because when I'm talking about domestic violence, I'm talking about relationships amongst men and women and how women tend to get more abused than the men. I see. But
you did say children. You were saying the children. You said Black female children have to go through more.
I'll explain it again. We're entitled to misunderstandings. When I was talking about children, I was talking about molestation. And I was talking about female children being more likely to be molested than male children. Then I went on to talk about domestic violence, which in the connotation of itself normally suggests that we're talking about adults, but you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be exclusive to adults. So that's my fault. So what I'll do is make it more clear. When I'm talking about domestic violence, I was talking about adult relationships amongst men and women and how women tend to absorb or be afflicted more as far as injury is concerned in scenarios dealing with men and women. So in one instance, I'm talking about children, and that's molestation. And in the other instance, which is the female child, enduring more molestation than the male child. And then in the other instance, I'm talking about adult men and women, and where the women, again, get the butt of the joke, figuratively speaking, where she's abused physically or given more harm than in the case of her giving more harm to the man. Now, there's different forms of domestic violence. We can go into the psychology of that, but I'm talking about physical abuse, affliction, breakage of skin, bones breaking, that kind of information is what I'm talking about. So I'll continue.
Males are more likely to experience sexual molestation or sexual violence under the age of 18. Females are more likely to receive it over the age of 18. I guess it's because a grown man is harder to rape.
I don't know where do those statistics come
from. This from nsop.gov. I'm just quickly skimming through it.
What neighborhood did they poll through? And are these exclusive?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just quickly. What I'm saying is when you have stats like this,
yeah,
maybe we need to stop marginalizing what the males are going through. Just like we don't count males who are in prison that are being raped, but males in prison are being raped. We just don't call it rape. As a matter of fact, if you were a man, Brother Polite, if you just walked out of your house right now and you got raped, you'd have a very, very hard time going to anyone and telling this story.
I understand. I'm not trying to be too picky. I'm just meticulous. So if you're giving me statistics, I want to know if it emphasizes our race and who took it, or what community did they get the consensus from? Only because we're talking about the Black woman, and I don't want to integrate every racist issues and then come up with numbers that don't speak specifically to her injury or her injustice. So I only wanted to know, are these statistics integrated with several races, or are they exclusive to our race in retrospect to the one being afflicted being the Black woman? That's very important to this conversation. Otherwise, you're just throwing out statistics that are analogous to the argument. It would do us no good if other races were involved in these statistics. That's just bearing on my logic. But they're good statistics nonetheless. I just want to make sure it's talking about what we're talking about, the Black woman, not Black women, Asian women, white women. If you can't verify that, I'll move forward, and I still appreciate the opportunity. So he's debating someone different, guys. So it's a good try, though. And I mean no harm. It's just I got to point these things out when I'm having these types of conversations. And I do love this guy for this debate, and I'm going to tell you why. He's not acting like a nut. Because I can't even reflect or demonstrate this kind of intelligence for so long before people start acting nuts. Even when I'm antagonizing, he's doing pretty good. He's holding up, y'all. He had some trying times, but damn it, he's the best one that came here. I ain't gonna front. We got to do a debate in front of the people, brother. You know what I'm saying? We got to do that. Because I know right now the people can see that this is gonna be tight. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, enough for promotion. I had to put that out there because I'm seeing a large consensus of people saying, man, I hope they do this thing live in my state. So, can I get some more? Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. According to epigenetics, we learn that the woman not only diffuses her emotion, her stress, her trauma, her insecurities through her bloodstream into the child. This is not metaphysics. This means that she goes through something, it compromises the integrity of the food that child has to take in, the rest that child gets, that child sees the emotions in different colors. This is all facts, but you go to epigenetics for this. So I don't want no one thinking I'm going into metaphysics, which is all right. But even if it happens in the spiritual realm per se, there has to have a physical counterpart to it. So I'm talking in the physical world right here. I don't want no one to misconstrue anything that I'm saying. What the woman goes through, the child inevitably goes through, which makes her so very important to our nation in our communities, whether they are the dysfunctional Black communities or the progressive Black communities or the communities somewhere in between. Because it's a community of people that got one foot in and one foot out. They're a community by themselves as well. This Black woman, brother, is very important. So important that when her mother was born, she was already being impressed, because her stress changes her physiology. Her stress changes her chemistry. Her stress can even change her scent. So her stress affects children before they are conceived. Her stress affects children while they're being conceived. Her stress affects children after they are born. I am not trying to disrespect the connection between a man and his child. I'm saying that there's a maternal connection that we have to honor, that we have to revere, that we have to respect. And if we can identify the social ills of the Black woman, it becomes a social imperative that we respond to them in as progressive fashion as possible as Black men. And chastisement may be a band-aid for how to remedy the shortcomings of the people that are the progenitors, not only of our race, but of society at large. I'll wait.
As I stated in my intro, I speak about the Black woman specifically because if I was white, I would speak about the white woman. I speak about the idea that you have a group who, in the majority of the most violent cities in America, are ran by two things: Democrats, Black women. Cities like Chicago, single parent mother households. And the thing is, these mothers have the ability to do some things that men can't. Women get to run around and say, my body, my child. So if they get to say, my body, my child, you cannot have your son grow up to be Shaquille O'Neal and say, look at the type of son I raised all by myself. And then when your son grows up to be a drug dealer and a killer, you say, it's because he didn't have his daddy around. So when people say that the Black woman is God, I believe them. Because when you talk about God, the God of the Bible, and most Christians, they'll tell you everything good you get in your life is God, everything bad is the devil. They never point out the bad stuff that you get that maybe God gave you that too. If you could take some of all the credit, take all the blame. That's what they say about quarterbacks in football. You get all the accolades when you win. You should take all the problems and the issues when you lose. Black women get all the accolades when their kids win. They take none of the responsibility when their kids lose. In my opinion, I'm seeing too many Black kids lose. And I got to blame who's there, not who's not. Because after 9/11, a lot of these women grew up, had their children, and the father was dead because he died either as a fireman or as a pilot or as a cop. And these women cannot use the excuse of there was no father there. They were who was left. And if there was no father, they had to get a father figure to put in that child's life. We have to blame who's taking the credit. We have to blame who's saying, I don't need a man. We have to blame who's getting benefited for having children, because Black males do not get one benefit at all for having a child. There's no Black man living in Section 8 housing because he got 3 kids by 3 different women. There's no Black man getting free food because he got children. There's no Black man getting housing because he got kids. Well, that's a lie. There actually is Black men getting housing because they have a bunch of children they can't take care of. That housing is called the state jail or the state penitentiary. The women get rewarded for having children they cannot take care of. The women can go take the morning after pill. You cannot force her. The women have 6 months to have an abortion. Doesn't have to explain why, they just can. You cannot force her. The woman can have special mitigating circumstances after 6 months to still be able to have an abortion. You cannot force her. The woman can drop her baby off at a police station, fire station, or hospital and not be forced to pay for that kid or even explain who the hell she was. A man cannot do that. A woman can give a kid up for adoption. A man cannot do that. A woman can make a kid a ward of the state. A man cannot do that. So if you have this kind of power, especially the power of life and death, because that's what a mother has. Life and death is the power she has. Then that's why I would address her more than him, because the receptacle tends to decide what goes in it and what is blocked. I have a front door. If people keep coming in my house because I let them in and robbing me, guess what people would tell me?
Please
be careful who you let in your house.
Sounds great. If I wanted to be a woman. Fortunately enough for me, I like being a man. If I was a man and I wanted to be a woman, I would be so enticed to say amen to everything that you said. But as a man, I would be enticed. But what we may not understand is that some of these things are progressive concessions made onto people who have to bear the child and heal after giving birth to the child. These are merely concessions being made because the responsibilities for the woman contrast immensely to the man who is an external being. What do I mean by this? I don't know if I want to be upset that the woman is more likely to get housing when children are made, knowing that the woman has to have the child grow inside of her for 9 months, and then presumably make sure she maternally connects with the child when the child comes out, because the child has only been inside of her for 9 months. I don't think she should just let the child be born and give the child away somewhere. I believe society has to prepare certain or make certain kinds of accommodations for women, since they go through a process that is indifferent from the process men go through once the semen hits the ovum, or once the spermatozoa hits the ovum. Let's be for real. Unless we want the women on the damn street when things get hard. Concessions should be made to the being that has to in-house the baby, in-house the fetus, pardon me, possibly breastfeed the child. And even if that woman doesn't breastfeed the child has been connecting with the mother internally for 9 months. Are we suggesting that conditions shouldn't be as good as we can make them for the child to remain connected or sustain some kind of connectivity to the mother after the child is born? Housing, healthcare, and the likes should be the least of accommodations. They should be guaranteed accommodations for any woman that gives birth to the children that will run the nation, men and women. Are we jealous of women? Now, what we can say is this, that there's an evil force that works to create a gender-specific war amongst those of our kind in the absence of true love and harmony amongst our community. I would then speak to the things that you were talking about. Or they use their little healthcare and their little plannings and their little insurance and their little WIC checks as an opportunity to feed us poison. I would agree with you if you spoke about that. But then, of course, we will wind up talking about people that are not of our race, and we certainly don't want to have that conversation. We're going to keep it in-house. And if I keep it in-house, should the man who contributed to the birth of a child be the one who definitely gets the house, or the woman who has to hold the child for 9 months, and then when the child is born, sustain the connectivity with the child that knows her as far as sustenance is concerned. What exactly are we asking for, Tommy? What exactly are we talking about here? You say you blame the person that is there. You don't blame the person that is not there. Your words. You blame the person that is there. It makes sense until we realize the other person is the father. What the hell are we talking about here? So we've just made a special concession to the men. So since she gets the house, she gets the blame. And since the man don't get the house, he gets to be absent of blame. Is that what we're saying?
Never said that. Tommy, I specifically said I put more of the onus. That's what I said.
No problem. I could accept that. And you also said you blame the person that's there.
Because they're the ones, they had the option of more than this other one. They want it. If I say, look, I want to be the one to not only coach the team, but pick the players, then you're going to blame me more than you blame the owner. You're going to blame me because I had my hands on it. I was able to pick and choose who started, who was the backup. I had more decision making. So I would by proxy get more blame. And the fact that you threw the little shot saying, well, if I wanted to be a woman, well, apparently you Negroes want to be white because all you do is complain how whites get away with something that blacks can't. So by that logic, you want to be white. You wish you was white. So stop bringing up what white people get away with. Stop bringing up that white cops kill blacks but don't kill whites, or whatever it is you bring up that white people do. Because if you really feel that way about me just bringing up an obvious difference, and that means apparently I'm jealous of women, then y'all jealous of white people. Because all you do is talk about white people. Whites did this. Whites could do this and we can't. You're jealous of them then. Stop being jealous of white people.
No problem. So now here we go. You blame the person who's there, not the person who's not there. Are you aware that many of these concessions being made to the woman is because the guy that's not there? You're aware of that, right? You're aware that the things that she's getting is because he's not there. Whatever the reason he's not there for, that remains to be seen. That's another conversation.
Right. And if she's benefiting from it, then that's why I'm blaming her. Once you get a benefit from making this decision, which entices other people to do it because they're benefiting. If there was no benefit, they would not do it. It's the same way a dude's acting like a thug. If women stop fucking thugs, thugs would stop, they would stop existing. Niggas wouldn't do this. There's no reason to do it. There's no benefit. So if the women are being benefited.
Benefit, Tommy? Is it the white thing that you don't want to talk about? I just want
no. Whoa. I talk about people who know my show. People who know my show. Wait. You just said it, so I'll explain it.
I just want to know something. Let me get the question to you.
Go ahead. That's my wheelhouse.
You said you're blaming the person that is there, namely the mother. You're not blaming the person that's not there. More especially in case you're putting the onus. You're putting more of the onus on the woman. And you also said you're blaming the person who's there, not the person who's not there. Got the whole thing right for you. So then you go on to talk about the benefits. But the woman certainly isn't creating these benefits.
Exactly.
Someone created the benefits. So then you say she's taking advantage of these benefits. And therefore, and I'm paraphrasing, it's basically diminishing the role that man can play in a family setting. She's using it to her advantage, and she's less likely to even appreciate him. This is what I gathered from you, and you can clean it up. She's less likely to keep an honest relationship with him with all these concessions being made to her, with all these benefits that she's receiving. There's really no reason for her to even appreciate a man's presence. And now I say, it is the benefits that is creating such abuse. But more especially, it's not the benefits, it is this system as it relates to the facilitation of the benefits. So maybe if people benefited under certain circumstances, then the manipulation and the abuse would not take place. So do we strive to change the system as it relates to the benefits that are distributed? Or do we try to blame the system while the system remains flawed, where opportunities can be created for manipulation to take place advertently and inadvertently? Because you can't suggest that all these women intended on making children under these horrid circumstances, because it's a whole lot more stressful making babies under these conditions with these so-called benefits than it is to do things the right way. Do you put the onus? Hold on. If you're putting the onus on the woman more so than the man, do you put the onus more on the system than the woman, or you put the woman still above the damn system?
You fire the coach before you fire the owner, because the owner owns the team. The coach does what it does with the resources that the owner allows it to have, number one.
What they did to Donald Sterling. When they saw Donald Sterling was a...
Donald Sterling had been the owner of that team for over 30 years. That's my point. I said you fire the coach before you fire the owner. That was exactly what I said. Your Donald Sterling analogy just proved my point.
No, it didn't.
Donald Sterling analogy literally proved my point. There's several coaches that have been fired before he was gone. Several.
When we find out, and it's been brought to our attention that the owner is out of control.
Did I say something that was wrong? Did I say something when I just said you fire the coach before you fire the owner? If it was wrong, then I understand why you cut me off. If it was not wrong in that statement, then please let me finish.
It was wrong.
Serious? Name an owner that's been fired before a coach.
That's not the question.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's not the question. I'll let you.
That was the statement I made. That was the literal statement I made. That was the statement I made.
I know
if you say that's not the question, that was the statement I made. If you cut me off, that must mean I said something wrong. Please tell me what was wrong.
Okay, thank you. When I said that's not the question, I meant it's a rhetorical question. And I'm going to tell you why it's rhetorical. Generally speaking, the reason why coaches get the blame first and foremost is because the education isn't there all the time, nor is the power there for people to remove the owner because they play such an integral role. So just because coaches get removed more times than owners, like more black people get locked up than white people, does that suggest more black people are evil? I don't think so. But we understand it's easier to incarcerate black people than it is to incarcerate law enforcement, than it is to incarcerate presidents that do wrong, than it is to incarcerate attorney generals that do wrong. It is easier to incarcerate black people because they are under the system that is doing the wrong thing. But sometimes it's revealed to us that something is going on so bad in the system that someone has to be reprimanded. So yes, more basketball players, coaches do get fired, but that does not attest to the conversation we're having here. It does not hold the owners more exempt. The owners just harder to remove because they created the goddamn system, meaning they have something to do with the coach being in there in the first place. So it's easier to remove the person who's been put in position than the person who's putting people in position. That's what I'm talking to you about. So the point that you're making is moot. So I ask you again, not who is easier to be castigated, not who is easier to be condemned, mocked, ridiculed. That is the black woman. I didn't ask you if it's easier to make accusatory statements, allegations, and reprimand her. I didn't ask you if it was easier to do that to her. I asked, are you not putting more onus on the system than the black woman? That's what I asked. I said, you put more onus on a black woman than you do the black man. And I think that's very weird, but you're entitled to your opinion. I thought the man's supposed to be a provider, but it happens. Maybe she's stopping him from doing all his providing. I get it. I understand. So you put more the onus as far as responsibility is concerned. You put more the onus on black women than you do black men. Fine. Now I simply ask, do you put more the onus on black women instead of the system that's being used to create the hostility amongst black men and black women? You know what you answer? Coaches get fired sooner and quicker and more so than owners.
Yet you've gotten to explain what your problem is.
Horrible response.
You've gotten a chance to explain everything that you've said and why you said it, and I had to take notes even when I disagreed. But I tried to talk. I said one sentence, you disagreed with it, and you pontificated for a long time on that one point, but didn't let me explain it. That makes sense. So next time I say something else that's wrong, jump in again and then go on off and not ask me what do I mean, although you've been able to talk so much that I have to take notes because I don't jump in when you're talking and you keep doing this. No and you felt like that was fair, what just happened right there.
No problem.
I stated one sentence and you went that long on my one sentence after I sat here and had to take notes on everything you stated.
Do you recall that you just asked me this question that I'm responding to?
No. I said, if
tell me where I went wrong.
I said, unless my analogy is I said, unless there was one word of what I said that was incorrect, please let me finish. You still didn't say one thing.
I said it was incorrect.
What I said was incorrect. You just explained why it existed. An explanation of why something exists does not mean that it's incorrect. You just explain its existence. And all you did was explain the existence of why it's easier to fire a coach than it is an owner.
It wasn't my analogy, bro.
The fact.
It wasn't my analogy.
It remained the fact. You did not do, for all that talking, all you did was just say, yes, it's true, but here's why.
I'm still waiting for you to answer the question, but it's all right. You don't have to. You can continue deflecting.
I haven't got oh my God.
I'm listening. I just said I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting right now.
Just talked for 5 minutes and then said you were waiting.
I'm still waiting. You would love for me to cut you off. I'm still waiting. Who do you put more of the onus on? Just in case you forgot. That was the original question. Not all this coaching owner shit. I just went along with the charade. I went along with it.
No, you took over it.
Yeah, I did.
Con game, you took over. My charade, you took over it.
I ain't gonna lie. I did take over.
You ran with one sentence.
I ain't gonna lie. I
said one sentence. You ran with it, and then had the nerve to call it a charade on my end because you took a sentence and ran with it. I'm the charade person. Got it.
Cracking under pressure. I'm just waiting for the answer.
No. The more excited I get, the more logical I get, because it's really sad that we as people have to have discussions like this and be antagonistic towards each other for no reason at all, but just to be a WWF, WWE environment. I haven't one-chested your manhood. I haven't one-chested any of that. Hadn't said, well, I mean, if you niggas that like dick say that, I mean, but I'm not a nigga that like dick. I ain't threw little shit out there for your audience to be like chum. I haven't. And I've also been respectful and sat here and tried to just write down what you were saying that I didn't agree with so you could keep going. And I said one sentence. And in one sentence, you cut me off and ran with it when I was only trying to make a point. The point was simple. I put the onus on who I see accepting it. The same way as there's a drug dealer and a drug user. If the drug user knows that it's wrong to take the drugs, he or she does not have to partake in it. The same way as all these niggas on your side who keep talking about Tommy getting paid, talking down on black folks, Tommy working for the man. Well, go after the motherfucking man by your logic, because I'm just a nigga benefiting off of it. So by your logic, go after him. But they don't. They ain't fucking with the white man who paying me. They ain't fucking with the Klan who paying me. They ain't put the motherfucking Klan man's information, his mama's address. They ain't put his phone number out there. They ain't said they gonna kill him when he come to their city. They ain't said they gonna kill him when he come to the debate. They gonna kill my black ass for taking the money, right? So I have to blame the woman, just like the niggas do. The niggas blame me for taking the money that the cracker giving me. So I'm going to blame the black woman for taking the money the cracker giving him.
Yo, when you done roasted the chat, for one.
I ain't roasting the chat. I'm roasting the idea of what you said. Who do I blame? I blame the woman because she doesn't have to take that money. Okay. She doesn't. Just like us coons don't have to take that money. Us coons could turn it down. We don't have to take the roles where we cooning on TV. Nope, we could turn it down. And you expect us coons to turn it down. And when we don't, you stalk us. You say you're gonna kill us. You say, fuck you, coon. You coon all day. Because we didn't turn down the mansion. Because we moved to Beverly Hills. Because we took our family and put them in private schools. We ain't killing you. We ain't selling drugs to you. We ain't fucking with you. But you're gonna kill us because we took it from the white man. So nobody takes more shit from the white man than that black bitch you call a damn goddess. Damn. That motherfucker is taking money hand over fist from white men. Every day, she goes around like Serena Williams and flaunts her white man in front of your black ass. And nobody says a word. Nobody bans her. Excuse me. Last I checked, the bitch who do all that writing who died, what's her name? She had 2 damn white husbands. Not 1, but 2. She's still the greatest. I'll go back to Diane Carroll. No one ever said they were going to boycott Diane Carroll's shows. Nobody said they was going to boycott Whoopi. And she let her white man call niggas niggas. She said it was funny. She took up for that white man. I'll name you every black woman that's got a white man. Nobody told Janet, we ain't gonna buy no more Janet music. Maya Angelou, thank you. Maya Angelou, niggas love Maya Angelou, and she loved white dick. Married 2 white men. But let a black man, Todd Gurley, he took a fucking picture with a white bitch. Just a picture. Michael B. Moore had to come out and tell people he does date black women because the nigga took a picture with a white bitch. This makes no sense. So that woman you call God has no problem with swirling her ass off. Got a website called Swirling. Ghetto gaggers sucking the shit out white men's dick all day. Nobody says a word about this bitch. She's goddess. Let it be a chocolate ghetto gaggers where niggas is just sucking dick or eating pussy all day. They'd have a problem with that shit. Again, you got Scandal. Black bitch getting fucked by the president for 19 seasons in a row. Black bitches can't get enough. This shit been running longer than The Simpsons. This shit been on longer than the Sports Center. Black bitch gets fucked by president. How many terms this white man get? Shit. But she fucking this white man. It's the #1 show. Name a show where a black man get to run around with a white bitch and it's #1. Name it. If Scandal was a black president with a white bitch fucking around on his black wife, guess what would have happened? The motherfucker would have been canceled when the pilot came out. Tell me I'm lying. You've never heard of a black woman get boycotted for dating outside of her race. Never. But you have, and you've seen black women who were prominent, who got in front of television, like K. Michelle, and said that white men were a better option, and she still didn't get excoriated for this. Let a black man say this. How can you be the mother of civilization, Mother Earth and God, and you praise a white dick? And I gotta watch you do it. I gotta look at you and say, I can't be mad at her because my mama black. You got kids fighting all damn day. And guess what they fighting over? Somebody said your mama black. You never hear nobody or something about your mama. Your mama this, your mama that. But you never see nobody fighting over your daddy this or your daddy that. You say something about my daddy, I'm like, you know this nigga? You say something about my mama, your mama a hoe. I'm gonna whoop your ass. But your mama got kids by a bunch of niggas. What was she? A dick connoisseur? A dick sampler? It makes no sense. We can hate our fathers, but you can never hate your mother. So a person that has this kind of power, with great power comes great responsibility. She has the power to be able to shame you out of date and outside of your race, dude. And we can't do the same to her. She has the power to give up her kid and walk away from it and have a brother like you say, well, it might have been the best thing that my mom walked away and left me with my dad. You ain't never heard no nigga say that about his daddy. Well, the best thing happened is my dad realized he wasn't shit, so he just left. But don't you think that would be a good thing too? If your dad know he ain't shit, that he's not in your life? Why the fuck would you force a nigga that ain't shit to be a dad? Think about this. The nigga know he ain't shit. Why would he be forced to be in a kid's life? You got niggas right now saying that I'm a child molester, saying that I'm a rapist, and then the next thing they'll turn around and say is, where your other kids at? If I'm a child molester and a rapist, why the fuck would you want me around any kids? Because we just want to fuck with the dude. We don't want to say anything about the mom because our mom is black and because she's had reign and rule for 40 years. So you can't question her, just like you can't question Jews when it comes to Hollywood. I talk about the system. I talk about Jews. I'm the only fucking fool to do it, well, other than you. And I do it and they look at me like I'm crazy. And the other so-called pro-blacks will duck the shit out of the Jew question. But I'm supposed to be the coon. But I'm the only one that'll bring up, do you understand what the system is doing? To wrap up this, the system is the main motherfucker that's trying to break up black families. Because the only way to really control black folks, and they realized it after the Black Renaissance, when blacks started owning businesses and shit, when they segregated us, the worst damn thing happened to black people was integration. Integration was the biggest damn thing because we believed that white ice was colder than black ice. Because we believed that white neighborhoods' lawns was greener than black neighborhoods' lawns. We were self-sufficient and self-reliant because we knew they didn't want us, and so we wanted what they had, so we built it. They realized you cannot have a group of people inside of your damn community that knows that they have power, that can build without you. So what did they do? First, they bombed the fucking shit you built. Then they turned around and realized women of all races like what? Power. So what did they do? They made sure that they saw the white man as powerful by sicking dogs on black men and burning black churches and beating black men in the streets and hanging them in the streets. Then they gave the black women a way out of it by asking them to join that bullshit feminist movement. And black women turned on their black men, even though black men never had any power or control over them. We didn't have no control over our damn self. And black women started joining these fucking dykes over in Europe, talking about some we want to burn bras. And look at what a dyke's doing now. In 2017, do you ever see any of them white dykes helping black women out? Do you ever see feminists fucking with black women? Nope. Any black woman that's a feminist is an idiot. But it's so many black women running around be a feminist. But all you see is Gloria Allred with a white bitch under her arm trying to help that bitch get some money. Not you. Where was the feminist movement when them black women were getting raped by that cop in New York? Where were the feminists then? They keep abandoning black women, but black women keep on following them jackasses. So yes, the system knows that there's power in the black family. So when I talk about the black woman, it's because she took the bait and left her man. If black men took the bait and left his woman, I'd have to blame him too. Family is all I want to talk about. That's it. Family. I'm not blaming the black woman so I can run her away. I want her to realize that you are destroying everything around you. The people who make you think that they cool with you, they're not. The people who want you to believe how they view you the same way as everyone else. We men have to stand up at some point and not keep putting black women above us. There's no civilization on earth that has thrived that I know of in the last 1,000 years that was matriarchal. And in order for men to stand up, they got to stop for a minute and say, you know what, we got to do this. And somebody said, then encourage family. Well, why don't you watch my show, you jackass bitch, instead of watching my damn news segment? Because my news segment is, my show is all about family. Why do you think that 20-year-old girl was on my show today? Why do you think the 19-year-old was on there before? Why do you think the 25-year-old and the 30-year-old and all these women listen to my show? Why do you think my chat room is full of fucking women? You can't say what I'm doing is that damn bad when I got all them women calling in my show talking about I changed their life. Why do you think so many married people call my show? Married people call in. Married people email. Married people donate. Why do I have so many married people over there? Because I'm the only one preaching the idea of a family. You cannot have a family when you're sitting there having these women who are being irresponsible with the power they got. I don't have to prove what I do. That's why I don't go around doing it. The proof is in the pudding. You can watch. You can see. You can listen to one of my shows and get phone calls. And you hear nothing but black women. You know, it got so bad, Brother Polite, they told me, you're paying those women to call. They were that jealous that many women called my damn show. They that damn jealous that every time they turn around, the mansion got a fine-ass black bitch in it. They mad. Then I be doing a show and I get a dinner brought to me. Thank you. Then I get tea brought to me. He's paying whores. Well, I got a lot of fucking money then. You got to stop at some point and say, if we're doing it the old way, what has it gotten us? We cannot continue to praise someone who is being paid to go against you. And right now, that's why I brought it up. Not because I'm trying to be a black woman. I'm saying they're benefiting off of it. They're benefiting on turning their back to family. The majority of them black girls who you talk about who were molested and raped, well, I do a show every year about black women being terrorized in their own homes, black children being terrorized in their own homes. And every show, it'd be nothing but tears flowing from the callers. Because then black women talk about how their black mothers put them in harm's way by dating different niggas and having them niggas coming in and out of the house. He ain't my boyfriend, he your uncle. And not only were they molesting the girls, but they were molesting the boys who had to, can't really tell because, well, if you tell somebody you got molested, you a faggot. So they were sitting on it. They're the main ones being abused as children, brother. Little boys. Because nobody gives a shit about them. When we find out a little girl has been touched, we want to act a fucking fool. We find out R. Kelly is with a 14-year-old. We act a fucking fool. But if a 14-year-old boy is with old Maybell or whoever the fuck, we give him dap. It's the same situation. You don't think that's fucking with the 14-year-old boy? You know how many black girls have sit up here and fucked these little boys? These little boys be having STDs before they take the SAT. How do they get these things? Black mothers running around on Instagram kissing their sons in the mouth and sexualizing their boys. These aren't men doing this. You would act a fool if you saw a man on Instagram with his little girl twerking or putting booty shorts on her. But these women are allowed to do this to these boys and no one says a word. At a certain point in time, we got to start at where is this source? We cannot fight the government as long as the black women are eating off of them. She has to be on our team. And in order to get her on our team, we got to let her see that it's wrong to eat off the government because the government's going to do what it does. That's what the analogy meant, the sports analogy. That team owner is going to be a dick because he owns it and no one can check him. He can run a team in the ground if he wants to. It's his. That coach, however, can either be a player's coach or owner's coach. Black women are that coach. They can realize that owner's a dick. they can realize that it's not the best way to do business. And the only way to do that, to me, in my opinion, because all I'm doing is what I think will work. I have no idea if it will work. My opinion, though, to prove them how fucked up it is right now. Prove to them how messed up it is right now. And maybe they'll turn away.
I dig it, my brother. I dig it. Riled you up. These people riled you up, but it's great. We need real emotion. These would be the closing arguments. You said the drug user knows the drug is wrong. And this was in reference to the black woman. Firstly, I would like to add, thank you for saying it's the system. Because when I say it's the system, you say, white man, white people this, white people that. But now you say the system. There was no necessity for me to say white people this, white people that, because I know we talking about white folks and other races.
I never said that before. When you said the system earlier, I said, yes, that's why I want to jump in. I said, and I kept trying to say before you kept talking, I kept saying, I said, yes, I say that all the time. As soon as you said that, I said, yes.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that the system is working so very hard to destroy black families. Thank you very much.
That's one of my number one tenets.
That saved me a lot of time. So now I can cover different ground. And because we now talk about the black woman taking all of these benefits, the black man is also reaping the benefits based on his compromised logic.
Yes.
So they're both simultaneously reaping the benefits. He gets the benefit of sleeping with another woman and helping contribute to a broken family. Why not? She's going to get housing. She's going to get some kind of health care. She's going to get some public assistance to buy food. He has less of a conscience.
He was raised by an individual that told him that was normal, though. We are 4 generations to 5 generations deep. But if you look at your mom and she wearing weave, why would you not date a woman who wears it? If you look at your mom and she on Instagram twerking, why would you be shocked that a guy would date somebody like that? We are praising and putting on pedestals these same people. So you're right. That's why black women get so upset when black men are exposed to different types of women. Because they know if a black man is raised by a thought, he'll most likely date a thought. And then he will contribute to that system. The only people who are normally dating black women who are the ratchet, disturbed ones are the ones they raise. That's why you don't see them act like that when they date outside of their race. You don't think it's odd that a black man that date black women and white women acts the exact same? When they saw me dating a black woman and then I dated a white woman, I was the exact same. You didn't hear my voice dialect change, and I was like, but when you see those black women, like you see Eve, who was a pit bull in a skirt when she was dating niggas, because niggas don't know no better. Because they have to date you when you acting like a dog. Then when she got a white husband, she said, he's the only man who's been able to change me. What did she say he did? She said he tamed me. What the fuck? Tamed you? Brother, every black woman you see with a white man, look at how they carry themselves. Do they carry themselves like them bitches that got that Gucci Mane got a date? No. The only people willing to take up for them are people raised by them. That's a fact. The only people willing to deify them are people who came from that house. That's why they're so upset. Because if you expose a black man to something different than a ratchet bitch, he kind of goes for it.
Let me ask you a question, brother. Let me say this first. You made a statement, and I remain composed. I'll let you do what you have to do. You suggested that I said, and I'm sure you paraphrased to the best of your ability, it might have been the best thing that my mom left me and gave me to my father. So I want to make this very clear.
No, I was saying that you said it. You said that.
Yeah, and I didn't say that.
If you didn't, then I was wrong. But that was all I was saying.
No problem. I just want to specify my position for the record, because if I let it go unnoticed, I would feel bad, and it has no place in another show. Let me say this. The fact that so many people were emotionally invested in me being aborted, in light of the fact, the circumstances that my mother was subject to, that many mothers, young mothers, well, she wasn't that young, are subject to when having children and the family is at war, I said, I have to get over the fact that she left me, and I only knew her for 7 days when I turned 17. When I was 17 years old, she died. She died the week that I met her. I reconciled within myself that though that will always afflict me, this woman risked her life to have me in the first place. And in fact, especially for Black women, when we consider our mortality rate, especially when it comes to birth, statistics show it's very dangerous for Black women to give birth under the circumstances that she has been given birth, because her health isn't intact. She risks her life every time she gives birth to us. For that, I'm very grateful. A number of things could go wrong when she gives birth. She still does it. She endures the pain. Yes, she does. We talk about this Black woman when we ask, why do we revere this Black woman? I tell people I worship the Black woman. And all they think about is the Black woman who doesn't best represent our community. I'll tell people I honor the Black woman, but all they do is tell me about the Black women who don't best represent our community. So is there any narrative that supports a righteous Black woman, not a perfect Black woman, but a righteous Black woman? Because when I say I worship the Black woman, all I hear is about child support. All I hear is about multiple babies. All I hear is about abortions. When I say I highly revere, I worship the Black woman, worship is the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. It is a feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. And what do we mean by adoration? Deep love and respect. And I just think it's not asking too much to have a deep love and respect for the person that brings me into this world, for the person that has to endure living in a racist world, a person that has to be both Black and a woman and still go through the pains of labor, the consequences of having a broken family, but still make strides. No man shall rise higher than his mother. How can we desecrate the womb from which we derive? It is through that woman's breast milk, the colostrum fluid that enhances our IQ, that enhances our immune system, that enhances our digestive system. It is that woman's emotions that we are subject to. When we are in her womb, we feel what she feels. We eat what she eats. We drink what she drinks. She is important. She is God on the terrestrial plane. And what do we mean by God? By God, we mean anyone in control of a specific aspect of creation. She is in control of breastfeeding. She is in control of 9 months gestation. I didn't give you the theological conception of God. I'm giving you a dictionary reference. If you don't like the word, allocate its meaning to another word. Find you a euphemism. that's more befitting to you. But Merriam-Webster's dictionary suggests that a God is anyone in control of a specific aspect of creation. And the specific aspects of creation that the black woman, women in general, but the black woman is in control of, is being our shelter and our resource for food, for warmth, and for comfort while in her womb. And we come out, and if that woman breastfeeds, she raises our intellect, she raises our immunity, she raises our digestion. This woman is very important. So important that when we stress her out, we inadvertently stress our children out. We come out the womb mad at the damn fathers because they don't consider with the pain and the mental anguish that she may be subject to, how it afflicts the children before they even come into this world. Identifying this black woman as a bitch out of hostility for those who don't best represent us when we're qualified by our education. No. Black woman's not a bitch. The black woman's not a whore. She's the progenitor of society. Calling her a bitch is worse than calling black people nigger. We want to talk about what other races don't do. Other races don't publicly defame and degrade their black women the way we do. Their women. How proud we are. How smooth does the word bitch and whore roll off your tongue when you're talking about members of your own race? I don't deny the shortcomings of our black women. But what is a shortcoming of a member of the black race that we cannot have the right to couple with the imposition of the master colonizers called the pale man, the white man? And I'm gonna say it over and over, because for so long as we behave the way we do, when it comes to all the negativity you spew about black women and black people in general, I don't know what is the barometer for how much of this actually has to do with the white man. So staying on the table, because no one has had to endure what we had to endure. And like I said before, when everybody else has enemies, we had all of them for enemies. When everyone else had enemies and they was enemies amongst each other, God damn it, all of them are our enemies against us. So what is the barometer for how much of this is on us and how much of this is on them? I get it. We got to fix our situation. I'm down with that. I hold myself accountable as a black man. Well, what we're talking about is more human than it is black. When people are lacking in resources, lacking in proper education, lacking in proper nutrition, they're going to make ill-advised decisions. And when there's a system in place playing puppeteer, playing puppet master, the situation is going to become more acute. Let's not behave like we don't understand both sides of the coin. So I can embrace you for the anger that you have for people that represent women of our race. I'm just as angry. But it's treasonous to degrade our women, especially publicly. I never said you can't condemn. I never said you can't criticize, but the manner in which we do it, we still have to do it with honor as black men. We don't turn on our black women for the world to see us behave in that manner. It is a sign of weakness. It's treasonous. It's disrespectful to degrade our sisters in that manner. And you have enough intelligence, you have enough wisdom a high enough IQ to know better than to misrepresent our race in the manner in which you do when you call her these vile and disgusting names. Because I'm going to tell you something. Hillary Clinton couldn't divorce Bill Clinton. They would have put a bullet in her goddamn head. Because it would have destroyed the value system of white America for them to have a damn divorce, for the white world to have to follow behind that. Some disdain is best kept behind closed doors. And when black men feel licensed to tear down their own women along with society, it only pushes us back more. So undoubtedly, you can mention all the things you don't like about black women, and I would probably agree with you until I consider something. Understanding transcends disagreement every day of the week. I can disagree with somebody all I want, but so long as I understand where their perspective is coming from, I reserve the right to give them my respect. The respect that I issue you, though I don't agree with some of Tommy Sotomayor's nomenclature for his disdain of black women, I still issue you respect because I choose to understand you before I disagree with you. I choose to understand you before I disagree with you, so I can reconcile within myself. You are still my brother, like it or not, disagree or not, feel disrespected or not. You have your right to vent your frustrations. But this black woman is our prized possession. She's our prized possession. If you really are as concerned as I believe you are, though we have different approaches, and I've come to terms with the fact you have your approach and I have my very own. This is me speaking from my perspective. When I honor the black woman, I honor her in potential. Unless you know, babies are being born thoughts in the black community, coming out the womb, a so-called thought. Unless you can confirm, baby girls are coming out the womb, so-called whores and prostitutes. Unless you can confirm, babies are coming out the womb, baby mamas. Then I revere the divine feminine. I revere the black woman because I revere the black child, because I revere the black baby. I have no choice but to honor the person who bears the responsibility that even if the men should die, she has to keep the kingdom going. We've seen it in ancient times. You may not have a record of it, but damn it, I can give you records because this is the reason why Kemet had female kings, and that's an oxymoron in African lingo, because a king was one who ruled, not one who's a female or a male. King just meant who ruled. It was a seat that was not exclusively allocated towards gender. It had no exclusivity to gender. But to translate it in English, there's female kings in Africa, and Egypt is not the only place that practiced it. And it happened under different terms, conditions, and circumstances. One of which when the men had to go to war, and damn it, we are in war. So when you say that this black woman can be likened to that of the likes of the drug user that knows drugs are wrong and still takes it, my brother, we are in war. She has your child. And if she doesn't have you for whatever reason, right or wrong, good or bad, she should not take the shelter she should not get the food stamps? She should be to blame because she's simply there reaping the benefits that can help her along to sustain a household of some sort? We're misappropriating our anger. And I'm just as mad about the things that you say that Black women are doing. I'm just as angry. But it doesn't change who she is in potential. We can't save everybody. But education, we can't save everybody, but education about what makes us great, what makes us special, that has to be propagated more than the hurtful messages that at times come out your mouth, because we already have enough media outlets not of our race portraying these images. I close.
All right. First, I want to thank. What the hell is that? First, I want to thank you for having me on.
No doubt.
Audience members of both sides. If you guys are watching on each side, make sure you click that like button on both sides. Share it with your friends. Don't treat us like whores. Share it with your friends. If you're watching it, then you can let other people know you're watching it. We're not porn. Now, I have a saying. I talk about the BTs. I call them the Black Terminatrix. I said BTs are born and not raised. I say this a lot. Are raised and not born, which means I agree with you. These people aren't born to be idiots, born to be stupid, born to be violent. They're raised to be this way. And if you look at the violence in the inner cities of most cities in America, the through line in all of these violent places where all of these people I talk about is that they're being raised in Black single mother households. Good, bad, or indifferent. Why not? It's something I can see. And if it's something I can see, and I see it's a through line through that, then I must address it. The equivalent of if I address that a lot of kids are born with Down syndrome get inoculation. Now, this is not true, but I'm saying if I saw that, then I would address inoculation. You know what I'm talking about. I'm having a hard time saying the word, but you get the point. I would address it. I see Black single mothers, and I see violence. I see poverty. You made a statement. Let me see if I can get this correctly. You talked about Hillary Clinton. And you said Hillary Clinton would not leave her man. That is true for a couple of reasons. You said it would be treacherous. It would be traitorous. One, she had political treasonous. She had political aspirations. So there would be no reason for her to leave because she had political aspirations, number one. But number two, you typically don't see that amongst presidents' wives. So it's like you stated. It's a culture, a way of life, and it's something that you just don't do. You don't divorce your president. But also, if we speak on saying that the way that you talk about Black women is treasonous, then we must also talk about what Black women did in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, when they went on Donahue and said that Black men were gay, that Black men didn't have jobs, that Black men weren't educated, that Black men weren't faithful. And they went on Jenny Jones. They went on Ricky Lake. They went on any show that would publicly embarrass their Black man and let the world know that they were a better catch than their Black man. So if we want to talk about treasonous, there's nothing more treasonous than that. Because all coons like me have is the internet. What they had was national television. And they used it to make us even look like criminals. They went along with white people, making us look like criminals. They were the main ones saying it. White people use Black women to get in front of the world to say, your men got diseases. Your men don't work. Your men ain't shit. Black women don't have a man. So if any of you good white, Chinese, or whatever other kind of men want to get a good woman, come date Black women. And they did this and had no problem. You said I spit negativity. But it's strange that you would call it negativity when all I do is report news. If it's negative news, then the question would be then, as you spoke about the white people who were in charge, who's in charge of the news that I'm covering? Who's in charge of putting themselves in the news that I'm covering? I don't make up news and I don't make up stories. And there wouldn't be a such millionaire called Q who runs a such thing called World Star Hip Hop if it wasn't for black folks. Now, Q and World Star Hip Hop is viewed differently than me. Strangely enough, it's funny to watch people on Flamius.com or whatever it's called, Media Takeout, which does the same thing. But the difference between them and me is I pointed out as it's bad, and Media Takeout and World Star Hip Hop pointed out as it's funny. Same thing, just one says it's funny and it's cute, and black people gravitate towards it to the point of where they became millionaires. Let's move on. You said the propagation of children. They house the kids. They have them in their wombs. Because of them, the kid, that makes the woman God. I will agree with your definition of them being God. Then by that same logic, the black man is God as well, because he plants a seed inside of that woman. Also, the next person that would be God would be the white man. The white man apparently is God, because right now you don't know any black people who own or run any water treatment plants, any sewage plants, any grazing places for any of the food that we eat. Anybody that runs in any of these departments of things that we need, shelter and all. These are all ran by white people. So by that definition in the United States, the white man is God also. We cannot even protect ourselves against the white man, as the white man owns nuclear bombs and we barely own AR-15s. Why does the black woman, you said I refer to her in disparaging names, and I'm not going to deny that. You said no man should refer to the black woman as a bitch. Well, I will tell you that the black woman refers to herself as a bitch more than anyone else. You can go to any black female profile right now and see how she refers to herself as bitch, 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 bad bitch, 5-star bitch, real bitch. And I also submit to you, sir, that the reason most men refer to black women as bitches, this started occurring highly in the 90s. Second generation of black males who had been raised by only black females. I, as a black male, was raised by only black females. Guess who I learned the word bitch from? Guess who I learned most of my foul and vulgar language from? Black females. Don't believe me? Go to any Instagram, Facebook, Twitter right now, and who will you see having their children cuss? Black women. Not black men, black women. So if we have a problem with the foul language that black men use towards black women, why would you not have a problem with the person who treated them and told them to speak that way about women? Because again, if black women were such good people and respectable people, knowing that black men are not in the picture in raising these children, the black children would be the most respectful towards black women, because the black women would only be there to teach them respect towards black women. So if they are disrespectful, then you must blame the teacher. You cannot blame that child. You must blame the person who taught the child. If black children were speaking 4 languages, guess who we give credit for it? The black mother who taught them. Also, black women right now go around and tell the world that they are the most educated group in the United States. And they throw it up in your face, black man, like it ain't nothing. We're more educated than you. They say this today, sir, and I'm not lying, and you know this. But here's the odd part about it. Brother Polite, wouldn't you find it odd if I was telling the world about how great I dressed, or how great I live, or how much I travel, and you found out that my daughter didn't have any clothes? My daughter didn't have a good Christmas while I had a great one. Well, that's what black women are saying when they're telling the world that they're the most educated, when their children are at the bottom of the list in every statistical category. So it should be virtually impossible that this educated being keeps producing so much uneducated beings. It should be virtually impossible, because if education meant so much to them, they surely would mean it. Their kids would be just as educated. So again, here's 2 points I just made. One, if black women were such great beings and such respectable beings, their children being raised exclusively under them would be amazingly respectable, because there's no one there to circumvent that respectable teaching being taught by that woman. Same thing about the education.
Tommy.
I mean, I let you go and I didn't say a word. I just started writing.
Just wanted to see if I could ask you a question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What's that question?
Thank you, sir. Do you believe there was ever a time where black people were great?
Well, I say this to you. My belief is I've been told so much that I think it must have been this time. But I don't have people able to really show me in an era. So I look and I say, since they cannot show me, it's like I believe it's like when people tell me that Cleveland Browns used to be good. Well, there's at least footage of it, but I don't respect it because it's so long ago. But there is footage of it, but it's grainy and it was in the AFL, and so I want to see it more recent, just like the Cleveland fans.
I understand you want to see
I want to see it more recent. That's all.
I understand. I just want to know, do you think there's ever a time recorded in history where we were in a pristine state?
I'm assuming there must be. That's the only way I can answer it, because I don't know.
So you have no references for black people being great throughout history?
Well, no. When I told you about how we were, I did. If you don't remember, I spoke earlier about when during segregation, where we were building our own shit, and they realized we were building our own shit. So I can tell you about places if you're asking that.
During the same time that you believe black people were great, do you believe you still had people doing some of the vile, disgusting, degenerative things that you are talking about today?
There's always a segment of that population, because that's man's nature.
There you go. And that is my point. But
you now do not interject your point in my closing.
I'm good. That's my point. I don't have to say nothing. I rest my case.
But you had already rested your case.
No, you're talking about black women. You're talking about black women. And I just wanted to know, are you walking around here thinking all black women are going crazy? Or do you realize both entities exist during the same time? Because this generalization, black women this, and they're doing that. And the ones that you're talking about, they're on Instagram.
It's a higher number.
Because when I go on Instagram,
you can't tell me to hold on.
When I go on Instagram, I don't look for degenerative black women. Apparently, when you go on Instagram, you're looking for them, because I don't spend my time looking for people that misrepresent my race. So when I speak about my race, I have great things to say. I tell you about great things that black women do, because I don't spend my time looking for ratchet black women.
Let me tell you something, and let me finish, please, this time, because
maybe it's where you search.
You've gotten out all of your points, and I've been amazingly respectful. Amazingly.
It might be where you're searching, my brother. That's all I want to say. You need to come to Polite's boot camp. Say it. It's okay.
I'm not even going to try. I know, because we're getting disrespectful, and I promise you, I don't appreciate it, because the conversation isn't being very adult-like right now. It's not. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you and then have people. Here's the one thing I refuse to do. I'm not going to sit and watch my people have to watch something like this, because this is how black people handle things way too much. They think being the way overly animated, to over talking someone and being sarcastic to them means you won. Because at a certain point in time, we must be respectful. And out of respect, I even stop my point to let you finish, to let you interject. And then you still sit up here and then made the little comments. And I understand it's what you do, but I haven't done it. I've tried to stay as professional as possible about the points. I did that. And right now at the end, you've taken over my ending, which destroyed my ending.
I apologize. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, we cannot, as a people, continue to entertain the masses in the gladiator arena, because all they want to do is see murder and kill. And they never want to see two brothers, even if they disagree, be able to respectfully disagree. And that's why you get so much talking when you're being sarcastic. That's why you get so many people saying, yeah, do it. But whenever you see two black men building, you don't get all those conversations, do you? Nope. Whenever you see two black people getting along, you don't see them. That's why you're crying. That's who you're placating to. That group of you're crying, he's soft, he's butthurt. That's the group. That's the group I refuse to placate to, because that's the group that as soon as you said something they didn't like, they wanted Brother POLIGHT murdered. You can't come to our hood no more. That's thin. I don't want anybody to say, because you and me disagree, you can't come to our suburbs no more. You gonna get shot if they see you at the club. And when we keep placating to them, that's the problem we're going to have. This is why the little kids don't know how to talk to each other. This is why they would rather fight and insult each other whenever you say something and make a point. I'm going to insult you and I win because I insulted you. I will tell every one of you, go watch a movie called Idiocracy. It's a beautiful movie. It was a sarcastic movie. It's a stupid ass movie. And when it was done, it was just lowbrow, bad special effects. But today it holds so much credence. Because someone could bring a fact to a table and the other person can insult that person. But the crowd is so stupid that the person who insulted the person with the fact just won. We got to cut that out.
So I presume you stopped talking. I kept humble when you misrepresented my relationship with my mother. I ain't take it personal. I was quiet. You know why?
And as soon as you said I misrepresented it, I apologize. I literally said, I thought, because when I said, I think what you said.
And now you're doing the same thing you just got mad at me for. And you know why? It's all right. I don't take it personal. You know why? Because sometimes you just feel like you got to interject just to make something clear. I don't take it personal. If it happens too much times in a row, then I'll say, hey, brother, which I did somewhere in between this whole thing. Hey, brother, you keep cutting me off. And then you just eventually just stop doing it overall. I still don't take it personal. You know why? It's part of the human spirit, and I can see clearly that you respect me. And I clearly respect you. That's why I said sorry, and I meant it when I said it to you. I actually meant it. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it. You went on further and said some things, and I could respond to it, but it's not worth it. You was in your moment, and you got the right to say what you say. And ultimately, I agree with your message about the gladiators and, you know, feeding the beast. I'm paraphrasing. You ain't say that part. So I'm good. I just want you to know I want to maintain the respect there. I apologize for being a little extra in getting my point across. I did interject. And so you do that. I would just hope, I would just hope that you do watch this thing over, because the lengthy times that I spoke, I want you to also realize you also had your very lengthy moments. The times I may have cut you off, I want you to also realize on several occasions I had to remind you was not letting me get my point across. And I don't say these things to be facetious, and I don't say these things to be antagonistic. I say these things to say to you that as far as I'm concerned, I enjoyed our dialogue. I enjoyed all the emotion and the energy you put towards it. I think it made for good entertainment and good education. And I thank you for being a guest on the platform. There's no way that I would want us to part ways with any kind of hostility. I enjoyed the whole conversation, straight through. I love the whole thing. Even when we get on each other's nerves, I like it because it just shows how far we did not go. Because I've had many of conversations, and if it was with anybody else, I would have had serious issues when it was all done. There would have been a bunch of mother effers and all this crazy talk. I've been there. So we lasted this long. And we haven't abused each other verbally. And that should speak to the level of intelligence that we both have. So I thank you, my brother, for being on the platform. Again, y'all see his website right there, sotomayortv.com. You see mine's right here. I am brotherpolight.com. We may be at the maturation of our interview. So before it gets turbulent, you know what I'm saying? Let's sustain the great energy that we created. And if you learn nothing from us tonight, you've learned that two Black men can have extremely opposing views and come in with respect and also leave with respect, with no hard feelings. Because I know personally, I'm going to give the brother a call and say, excellent show. I'm glad that we pulled it off. He exercised a great deal of constraint, not because it was difficult, because he has it. So now what you may realize is if it looks bad with him and other people, it's probably the other people. You know what I'm saying? So, because everyone's entitled to slip up and everyone's entitled to kind of be antagonistic. And if you see it going wrong with me and other people, chances are you can tell now. It must be other people, because on this subject matter, there's no two better people to disagree with each other than probably us on this particular subject. All the other subjects, chances are we're going to be in agreement, because even in this, we are in agreement, because we just accept the fact that we are in our lane in our approach. So I would like Brother Tommy to close out. I just want y'all to know, download the Brother POLIGHT app. Okay, go to the Brother POLIGHT website. Pardon me, I Am Brother POLIGHT. Go to I Am Brother POLIGHT and check out those classes, those real estate courses that we're doing every Sunday. Be involved with that. The health course that we're doing on Sunday, be involved with that. Purchase that online. Of course, if you're interested in any of our DVDs, books, especially about the Black woman, her grace, I got plenty of books that I wrote. All world religions have their inception in the worship of Black woman. That's a DVD. It's a triple DVD. We also have Desecration of the Womb, which is a book. Get that. That's a very good book. Also, Reactivate Your Melanin. I actually have that book right here. This is a very good one right here. It's a good read. And of course, we got our real estate books, some of which I have here. These are actually for somebody that's supposed to come by the house. One of the celebrities I mentor. But check that out. I got to get the dynamics of this camera right. There we go. Something like that. Yeah, so that's Buy the House, Introduction to Tax Lien, Tax Deed. And of course, we got Stocks and Blondes. Check out Stocks and Blondes. Let's see how that works.
Are you saying blondes? Yep.
Yep, Stocks and Blondes. So check that out. Pretty dope book. Okay. Do your thing. IamBrotherPOLIGHT.com. Also download the app. Brother POLIGHT, POLIGHT. It's an acronym. Pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust. POLIGHT. Download the Brother POLIGHT app. Like our page on Facebook.com/Brother POLIGHT. Email us if you're interested in doing any of the things that are inclusive of our NCSD program, New Covenant Special Defense, firearms training, getting a legal firearm, all of that. That's NCSD organized with a D at the end, organized. NCSD, New Covenant Special Defense, NCSD, organized at gmail.com. Go ahead, my brother. Please let them know where they can find you, what events or sessions or services you provide. Just let them know how they can support you or contribute to what you do.
Everything I do can be found at sotomayortv.com. That's SOTOMAYOR TV.com. Seek it, you shall find it. My stuff is just there. It's word of mouth. So if you run into some of my stuff and it bothers you, you probably should stop watching it. If you continue to watch it, that's weird. Somebody stated that I look for the bad cases of Black women. It's the dumbest statement that any of you have ever stated towards me, that I go searching for these things when I grew up in them. So I saw them every day. Number two, there wouldn't be a such thing as media takeout, Chrissy.com, or all of these other places. If it was such a rare thing, you wouldn't be able to have all of these millionaires who make all of this money off of this one group of people's dysfunction. It would be impossible to just keep repeating the 4 or 5 bad things they did. So if no one wants to admit that apparently there's a whole bunch of stuff Black women are doing for all of these people to have this much stuff to say about them, then I'll go ahead and say I lost on that one. And I'll just go back to recycling my looking for and gathering through holes and scraping the bottom of barrels to find this one story about a Black woman to make them look bad because I'm gay and I hate them.
Well, we thank you all for listening. Thank both groups, both chat rooms, as Tommy's is on the top and mine's is on the bottom. IamBrotherPOLIGHT.com. And I must say, there was a point where I actually seen communities. I've seen a common union. I actually seen your supporters up there in bulk and my supporters over here in bulk. I actually seen that at some point, and I thought that was so cool.
It was nice when they was like, hey, the brothers build and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
the jackasses in the middle that ruin any kind of building that you do. Every time it's a so-and-so v so-and-so, and they're just degrading each other and calling each other, you got that cracker in you and stupid shit like that. They eat that up. So I choose to remove myself from people that are stupid like that. These people are openly, and the reason I record stuff like this is to just let the world see.
That's right.
You have one group of coons who have a certain amount of respect for the people they disagree with. And the so-called pro-blacks and conscious community are ruthless in their idea towards other blacks. I mean, they're ruthless. My daughter, my mama, and all these people got it because they don't like me. I'd assume I should get it. But the other people, because you don't like me, and then you wonder why other races would treat blacks like that, it would make perfect sense. You cannot get mad at white people for talking about blacks this way when blacks talk about blacks this way. And it don't be over big shit. I ain't killed nobody. I ain't robbed nobody. They disagree with my stance. And this is the vitriol. Imagine what they would get if I did kill somebody. Oh, wait, if I had beat up Tyreek, they'd have told me I was real. Oh, wait, if I had killed a nigga or had been in jail for robbing a nigga, then I was real. That's what's so bad. If I came on here and just tried to insult the shit out of you, I might have won some points. I can't play that game because it would be me being the exact same thing that I'm trying to rail against. The one thing that I talk about, which makes them call me gay, is saying that black men have to build first. We cannot build on a matriarchy. I don't believe you can. I believe that brother, that's why I try to stay close to brothers like you. I don't try to be mad at Umar. I don't even try to be mad at Tyreek after all this fucking shit. Because if they see, no, I'm just saying, like, I look at it this way. Why do you think it's always women in the midst of men fighting? Ask any question you want to about me. Talk about me all you want. But somebody gotta say, why is it always a bunch of women whenever there are two black dudes fighting? Why is it that you can look on any website and when you see two black kids fighting, they mama's sitting right there saying, do it, do it. We're the only race of people where our women are encouraging the battle instead of trying to break it up. Everywhere else you'll see some black woman say, guys, stop it. Not us.
All right. So without further ado, we'll be closing. Thank you again, Brother Tommy. For the people that's in the chat saying you was too nice to him, my name is Polite. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be for real. There's no such thing as being too nice to a brother that you invite to have a dialogue. Otherwise, it'd be disingenuous if I brought him on here to be rude and disrespectful to him. So if you want to see better by our people, like we say in the comedic science community, speak ma'at, do ma'at. That's what we say. Speak ma'at, do ma'at. And that's what we have to do. I'm not perfect, far from it. I'll be the last one. I'm just letting you know, I have to treat the brother the way I feel black people should treat each other, especially during times of adversity. That's what we have to do. So I'm very passionate about this subject matter. And because I have to subdue my passions to not to be so far removed from what I stand on that for the glory of people that I do not know, I tear down not just a black man, but he is a father. So this is an online record, and I don't want to contribute to the destruction or degradation of a black man that is also a father, where his child one day may go on YouTube and look at what her father was involved in, to see me, another father, not even honor the fact that we have that similarity amongst many others. So this goes deeper. If we misrepresent ourselves as far as the way we communicate, we give license to the people that support us to follow through in their disrespect amongst each other. Because, hey, after all, they've learned it from the people that they appreciate. That's why it's so very important that we keep respect at an all-time high. So with that being said, I thank y'all so much. Go to that SotomayerTV.com. You know, every guest that comes on this show, we have to make sure that you know how to find them as well. It's hospitality. And of course, go to IamBrotherPolIGHT.com. Peace. I love you all. Both chat rooms. You did a great job.